How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Dead Jester Productions podcast. I'm your host, Josh, or J Moskers, episode number 207. Special guest this week is Teapott from the Dungeons and Shinobi podcast. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you stopping by. We've been chatting for a little bit before we started recording here. It's been almost 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Wow. We were talking for a while, weren't we?
Didn't realize it. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I looked down at the clock. I was like, it's probably been like 10 minutes.
No, we've just been, yeah.
See, happen away. Anyway, I want you to tell people a little bit about Dungeons Shinobi. What it is you guys do over there?
Yeah, sure. So we are a anime D&D podcast. There's a lot of Dungeons and Dragons podcasts, and we decided to take it in a little bit of a different direction. So we actually work off of a homebrew module made by, I think his name's Tommy, but he goes by King. Mm-hmm. He wrote this massive, it's amazing, really, module for Dungeons and Dragons that's modified to be Naruto. So I don't know if you're familiar with Naruto anime. I'm sure you've heard of at least Naruto.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forget when that originally came out, but I remember watching that on Toonami when I was a kid. And then as I got older, I found out you could just watch anime online. And I was like, oh, cool. And so I watched it as it aired on Crunchyroll, I guess, at the time.
Yeah, that's, oh man, I love that you said Toonami, because I feel like I play with a lot of younger people, and I'm sure that my guys know what Toonami is.
I don't even know if it's still a thing anymore. I have no idea.
I think they recently brought it back. Recently brought back Toonami, and it's but that was, Toonami was amazing. That's what got me into anime too, because like that, Inuyasha, Bleach, all those like classics. That's where I first fell in love with anime.
Yeah, but as you were explaining your show as well, I turned around to get my water and I rolled my chair right over my foot.
Oh God!
That's why I muted myself. I was like, She said right over my toe. I was like, good grief, great stuff.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this podcast, guys.
Oh man,
and broken toes.
Yeah,
you all right? You okay?
We're good. Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay. But anyway, this is a custom homebrewed one. So instead of like regular D&D, where the way I put it is, when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you're playing something that's kind of like Lord of the Rings, but it's not Lord of the Rings. So essentially what we're doing is we're playing something that's like Naruto, but it's not Naruto. So like none of it is actually in the actual canon Naruto universe. Yeah. It's just completely homebrewed by me. And yeah, we just have fun with it.
Just set in the universe, maybe slightly crosses over with like characters or things like that, you mean?
Yeah, so the idea is that in the same way that like in D&D you use Lord of the Rings as a basis, because like a lot, I don't know how many times you'll hear in like a DM say like, oh, like that one scene where Gimli does this thing, it's kind of like that. So that's basically what we do, except instead of just using Naruto, we talk about, because we're all just like anime nerds, we'll use all kinds of references from like different mangas and stuff too.
Oh, okay.
So I like to say it's more of like an anime Dungeons and Dragons podcast, but it's definitely heavier into Naruto than anything else, just because of the nature of it. I mean, technically they're all shinobi. We still use the name, like Genin and the Jonin and the Hidden Leaf and stuff like that, but it's all just completely reworked and different. Just and in my opinion, it's a little bit darker probably than the normal Naruto, but I don't know. I guess you could make the argument it's not, depending on like Orochimaru's experiments, but hey, who am I?
Do you also have like 500 episodes of filler like the anime?
No, we're working on it. So far, we got about 15 episodes of filler.
I remember like growing up, I watched it on Toonami, and I don't know if they were just like replaying old episodes at the time, but I caught it like at the start, and then I kept up with it as it was released. And then there was a time for a while, like years, where I just didn't watch it at all. And like I said, I found like Crunchyroll or something. I was like, oh, I'll watch it online. Got caught up, realized they did the Shippuden, so where like they're grown up, like teenagers or whatever. And I watched a little bit of that, fell back out of it, and then I guess I just saw that like the manga was ending, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I read the end of that. I read all of it, got caught up, finished it, and I was like, all right, that was cool. and then went back and saw like the anime. I forget how close the anime was to the end at that point. But I remember like looking at it, I was like seeing like people like reviewing it and things like you can skip these episodes, these are filler. And it's like I think it was like 70% of the series was filler or something. I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
holy crap.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
buddy's trying to finish it right now. He didn't really like do anime as a kid or whatever, so I'm like infecting him with that. Who's my old
Mm.
college roommate, and he's been watching it now. And every day he'll get on like, we play like video games and stuff together pretty frequently, and he'll be like, "Oh my god, I just got to this part. Oh my god, I just got to this part." But then I can't remember what it was. It was like the other day he was like, dude, how many fucking episodes of filler are there? Because if I have to watch one more thing of them going back in time as kids, I'm gonna freak out. And I'm like, yeah, they
I,
have lists for that, dude. Like,
I looked it up. Of the first part before Shippuden, like the original series, is 220 episodes. 91 are filler episodes.
that's wild.
It's more than 40%. Shippuden, where does it say? I was hoping it would see. Oh, it's 500 episodes and 188 of those are filler.
Jesus.
So about
Yeah,
38%. So
that's a
roughly
good chunk.
40% of the entire series is filler, which is
Well, yeah,
crazy.
and that's like I don't know if it's the case with this one, but I know that in a lot of cases it'll be they're making an anime off of a manga and the manga takes longer.
Yeah, and they
So
catch up. Yeah.
yeah, they got to make episodes because they have to meet their weekly
Mhm.
thing, but they don't have any material to go off of. And unless they do something like Full Metal Alchemist, where they just come up with a completely new ending, uh, it's like, what are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah. No,
So,
I get why they did it. And there's a show I watched that well it's a series I read called World Trigger. And that's one where like the author is constantly experiencing health problems. So
oh god,
the season 1, I don't remember how many episodes there are. I'm not so invested that I keep track of a lot of these things. But like season 1 like got caught up and they're like, all right, well, we want to keep the show going. So they added in like 7 episodes of filler at the end of the season or whatever. And people are like, oh, this is not great at all. It just completely different vibe from the rest of the show. And then he kept working ahead for a while. Like the show was off the air for a couple years, maybe. They came back to season 2 and they didn't add filler, but they slowed the pace down a little bit just through like long shots, like panning shots and things like that, stare downs, whatever. Like they just dragged it out a little bit. So the season didn't quite catch up to like where he was even at the manga at that point. And so it's been coming out little by little, but if they do a third season, it's going to catch up very quickly. And I'm concerned because I do not need, like I said, like going back and rewatching like the Naruto Shippuden, I was like, this is jarring. Or it's just
yeah,
like all this extra crap just thrown in here nonsensically. Like you said, like jumping back in time. I remember like skimming through the episodes. I was like, how many are there? Like, oh my god. And then like at the end, like I think they get like consumed by the tree or something in that. And I think they have specific like episode, like few episodes per character for every single character after they've been like trapped in the like the dream and every
yeah,
like
and like
wants their own little
10-10 and
dedicated little arc. Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
oh my god, like the manga's over. You don't need to do this anymore.
I know, right? I think they were just doing that for them. Well, and I mean, it's such a cash cow. Look at Boruto, you know.
Oh, for sure. I have not looked at that. I've not watched that at all, read any of it, but I
You're
imagine
not
it's
missing out
similar.
on much. I've been
Yeah,
reading
I've
the
only
manga.
seen.
I haven't watched any of the anime, but I read the manga, and it's like I'm up to date with it currently, and
Yeah,
it's
okay.
just like I mean, it's that whole. I feel like a lot of I don't know if it's like a Japanese thing or what, but I feel like a lot of the animes go into this pitfall of like we need to make the thing bigger and badder, you know?
Mhm.
Like it's
It's
always
just a
got to
constantly scaling power level.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I mean like Dragon Ball Z style, you know? It's just like
Mhm.
God mode, then extra God mode, then super red
It gets
haired
to the
God
point where it's
mode.
like, all right, but like where you can only suspend your disbelief to a certain. I get that it's like ridiculous, like cartoons, like and stuff like that. But
Right.
like I'll use like Naruto as an example because I'm not. It's the only one I'm like super familiar with. Where it's like this is the person that created our abilities, like the chakra and everything. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, wait, where the hell did all these people come from?
Well, and
Yeah.
that's they in
Yeah,
Boruto, they try to like kind of explore that a little bit, but the thing
mhm,
is there's a guy called Akimoto, I think, who's the one who's actually writing it, and it's not Kishimoto, the
okay,
original writer of the show. So it's like two different people's, like
mhm,
he's picking up the torch from a show that he didn't make, and
yeah.
it's he made it more like sci-fi and like aliens
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff, and it's just
I only know,
so
like, the bare plot, like, the initial plot where it's, like, in the future, I know they have, like, technology now, like, more modern technology, and I know
yeah,
there was, like,
ninja
more
tools.
people from the moon or something, and that
I
was,
think
like, what I saw just from secondhand information.
what do they call it? Scientific ninja tools is what they call them, and it's like
Interesting.
it's yeah. I mean, it's just bringing the mecha shit to
Uh,
Naruto, which I think is, in my opinion, kind of a misstep because I think the thing that made Naruto cool was that it was so like almost traditional in the ninja ways type thing. You know, they really
sort of,
had a
yeah.
lot of like ancient I don't even know, themes, I guess you could say, going on with them that made you
Mhm,
feel like it was set in like a more old time of Japan where there's more traditional stuff going on. The wear is a little bit older looking, you know, everyone seemed to be a little bit more
mhm.
rough and gruff. And then in this one it's like the main character wears like a fancy jacket, and you know he's like all about style and everything. It's just like, what the fuck, this is not what I don't know, maybe I'm just old, but it's just not my Naruto, you
I
know.
I feel like even the end of the original series was sort of like that. Because if you look at the beginning, it's like you said, it's, like,
Yeah,
very rough, and maybe it's the animation style because it's however many years old, it is fairly old,
yeah, mid
and
2000s I think.
but, like, I felt like it was way grittier, and I remember seeing a thing on Reddit last week, maybe it was this most recent week, where it shows the original animation and they redid it, and it's, like, a lot brighter, a lot more colorful, and less, like, not less violent, but, like, it's not as nearly as gritty, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh, like, in my mind, it, like, took away from it. It loses its, like, not necessarily the charm, but, like, I don't know, it lost the weight of it. It was weird to see
yeah,
it.
I know what you mean. It's weird. It's like the color palettes, everything about it just somehow makes it feel more I don't, cartoony in a way rather than
All
anime.
the
Like
bright colors, like, take away from, like, the darkness of it almost, and it's weird to see.
yeah,
It's like,
it's a
oh,
weird.
there's I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it's, the change in art style really, like, alters the way you view it.
Do you keep up on like anime and mangas a whole lot, or
I really don't. Part of it is I just don't
okay?
have the time a lot of the times.
Oh, there's a
Like I said, I
there's
go
oh
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I'd followed that until it was over. Like I said, I read World Trigger. Like that's the series I'm like dedicated to now. But unfortunately, it's very slow with the author having all of his health problems. But that's one like that's the only series that like I own every volume that's been put out so far. Like I actually own physical copies of it. I even have the like border briefing file, which is like the little informational booklet, but it's in
That's
Japanese,
sweet.
so I can't read it. But like the
Wait,
like
what's the name of it? Rolled Trigger?
World Trigger.
World Trigger. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up because I have
Yeah,
been
I'll
looking
type it.
for a new manga
Yeah. So like
to read.
it's set in like current times, but basically it's people from like another universe like attack Earth and they have like modern sort of style weapons where like you swap out your body for like a digital version and do battle with like swords, guns, all sorts of things. And it's more tactical than like shonen, which is kind of interesting. There's the latest arc, people it's really split the community based on me just like cursory glancing at the subreddit because it's very slow paced. It's them doing like tests and thinking of strategies and coming up with different like bits of information as opposed to combat. And so people are like, this is so slow and boring. And part of it is, yeah, it's a slow arc. And part of it is, yeah, we've got
Dude,
like
it's not
10
doing great.
chapters over a year and a half. It's like,
Jeez, it's like Attack on Titan.
uh, I watched the first season of that, maybe even the second season, I don't remember. And I read a decent amount of the manga, and then I just fell out of it. I was like, I just can't be bothered. Just
They
kind of
just finished it, so now's the best time.
yeah. Part of me, I'm like, I don't want to say I'm boycotting it because I didn't really watch it to begin with too much, but like I hate the thing that they did that a lot of shows are doing now, where it's like, oh, the final season, we're gonna release it over like 3 years in 4 parts. It's like Jesus, like,
Yeah.
come on. They're doing that, and I don't watch this show either, but like Invincible on I think it's Amazon.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh, season two, the first 4 episodes come out this year, the others come out next year. It's like, really? Like
Yeah, it's
four
not a
episodes? Like,
season then.
yeah, it's insane.
That's I
It's
mean,
ridiculous.
that's the entire that's like the opposite of the definition of season, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're doing it in one stretch that lasts for a period of time throughout the year, like, that's
So
not a season then. You're
essentially,
doing
season two is 4 episodes. Season three will be 4 episodes. They're like,
That's
no, no, it's
wild.
one season. It's just split. It's like, no, that's 2 seasons. It's functionally how that works. Yeah,
Well,
I hate that.
Attack on Titans is I don't know why it took so long, and yeah, that was annoying for me too, but I'm one of those people where if I like something like that, I'm really good about just putting it away and forgetting about it until it's
Mm.
done. Because when they ended this one, actually I was on a different podcast recently where they wanted to talk about the ending of Attack on Titan, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." And they're like, "Oh, well, it'll be out soon." So I had to binge the entire last season before I even got on that podcast, and it was cool. I mean, I liked it a lot, but
Did they change it from the manga?
I don't know. I didn't read the manga actually.
Okay.
I
I
don't
didn't
think
read most of
so.
it either. I just read the end when I found out it was ending. I was like, let's see what happens. And I
Yeah.
look at it. I'm like, well, things have taken a turn from when I last saw this.
Yeah, it gets a little crazy. That's for sure. I
Yeah.
liked it. I mean, a lot of people hated the ending, but I thought it was I mean, it's about as good as it could be. I think when things get built up like that and they get
Mhm.
such a huge following, it's hard to end them, you know? Like,
Yeah,
not
it can
everyone's
because you're
gonna be
never gonna
satisfied.
please everybody, and then
Yeah.
you get a very vocal minority that don't like it or whatever for one reason or another. It's very difficult. That's not what happened with Game of Thrones. It just sucked.
I never watched Game of Thrones actually. I'm more
Oh,
of an anime nerd. I
fair
swear
enough.
I've watched anime like my entire life growing up
Mm.
because I don't know why. I've just always been like a real big
I'm
anime
trying to
nerd.
think. Oh, Dan Machi, which is the Americanized like title of the show, is like, is it wrong to try and pick up girls in a dungeon? Which is
Yeah.
the worst name possible for people who are like I enjoy the books. Like I read the books and I'm just like, ah man, it's fucking embarrassing. Like I
What did they I don't know if that's Iseki, but I know that that's like a whole
no,
thing
it's
of
just it's just like people like there's a dungeon, there's like gods from like it's a lot of Greek gods, Roman like gods from like all over the the spectrum from different societies, but they come down to earth and bestow like their sort of like powers onto people who venture into like the dungeon under the ground, fight the monsters, and it goes down like floor by floor essentially. And
ah,
it's a
I
combination
think
of
I've
that
seen
and
this.
then like the political side of it between like the gods trying to take the power for themselves and to an extent sort of, and so on and so forth.
I'm pretty sure I have seen that one. I don't know
It's
though.
all right. The show is all right. The books are much better.
Yeah.
And the 19th one is coming out in English, I think in January.
Oh, they're still doing it?
Oh yeah, they're probably just over halfway done, roughly, I think.
Man, I came on
But
here to talk about anime and I'm just getting all kinds of recommendations. I'm like adding them all
which
to my
is weird
reading
because I
list.
know like almost nothing about most anime. It's literally
You
like
just
those
I,
couple.
I think the thing is I live on the fringe of anime a lot of the times because I'm always watching like me and my wife will just try and find like terrible animes and watch them just for funsies, you
Mhm.
know. And I guess more often than not, I end up missing the bigger ones because I'm so
Yeah,
busy watching all these stupid ones or like reading all these stupid. Like right now, I'm reading one called like how is it, New Age Exorcist, and it's all just like
sure.
weird
I'll
fan
take your word
service
for it.
shit.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah,
So many
no,
of them
I
have
mean,
really weird names too, so it's hard to understand what's going on. Like what, like yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you most of them. There was a point in time where it was like I would literally just have it on in the background while I would be working. This is like 10 years ago, maybe. And
yeah,
I had back when I had a Crunchyroll subscription. It's like all right, just put on whatever. And so I did the same thing where it's like I'm just watching whatever's on, and so it's just a lot of weird ones. And I'm like I couldn't tell you what's happening, no idea. And people are like, this is why this show is so good, like all the underlying themes. And I'm like, man, it is just very curvy, scantily clad women fighting monsters or whatever. I have no fucking idea what's going on here.
I know that's my wife's biggest complaint too. Is that like, why does everything always have to somehow get into being sexualized? That's just
Yeah,
it's
it definitely is in a
always
lot of
that.
cases. Yeah.
It's like, well, there's a new one that's like super popular called Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I knew what that is. My old co-host is a big fan of that, but I never watched it or anything.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Hmm.
It's got that like old school Naruto gritty feel, but like
Okay.
reminds me of Full Metal Alchemist, where like the
Mhm.
body modification type stuff, where it's
Okay.
a
Yeah.
lot of
I
blood
have
and
seen
death
that.
and stuff.
I saw Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which apparently is the good one.
Yeah, that's the one you
Mm,
need to watch. You don't gotta
mm,
watch the main one. I like the original. The original one was the one I grew up on watching, and then when
mhm.
they came out with Brotherhood, I was like one of those
You're like,
hipstery
this
kind
is
of people.
sacrilegious.
Yeah, I was like, well,
Assuming.
fuck
Yeah.
this. It's not like the original anime. And then I read the manga, and I'm like, oh no, this is the original anime. They
No.
just fucked up the the ending on it. I mean, it's still cool to watch. I made my wife watch Brotherhood, and then we watched a little bit of the regular one, and she was like, I'm good on this. It's basically the same story, just longer and more filler episodes. But
Yeah.
like, I have a tattoo from that. I have the homunculus tattoo on my back from it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
probably my favorite anime, honestly. But
It's a solid show. Like,
a lot of
it,
inspiration from that for our campaign for
yeah,
Dungeons and
nice.
Shinobi. I use a lot of their, like, I don't know what you call it, like the militarization of body experimentation as a
Oh, okay. I know, yeah, yeah.
that's like the main subplot of the show. If the guys ever stop dicking around with like gingerbread houses or whatever the fuck they're doing.
You don't have like debates like forced body modifications by the military. Why are you all for this?
Yeah. It's not it's kind of like they're in a secret organization at the moment
Hmm.
working on it, but it's going to get a lot worse soon. But
Turns into like a District 9 scenario. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
essentially, yeah, it's actually going to be a
Okay.
lot like that. Yeah, I love District 9. That's a great movie. But that's spoilers for the future. I guess this episode won't be coming out forever, and who knows if people who actually listen to my podcast will listen to this either. But yeah, there's a lot of overlap when it comes to that in different animes. I use a lot of that as inspiration for the thing. Not to say I'm like ripping anybody off, but
Mhm.
it's very similar because
But your main character is named Naruto, and he's going to be the next Hokage.
yeah. That's the main plot
The
of it.
odds are against him, but he's going to win people over.
Yeah, and he has a legged beast sealed
Yeah,
inside of him though. It's not a tailed beast, so we changed it up. They got 4 legs and 9 legs.
there's a number of them. They all have different numbers.
They all got different numbers.
There was, I remember. Do you ever hear of the books like Aragon? Like it's a series about like dragons.
Yeah. There's a
Okay,
movie, right, for Aragon?
yeah, it was not good.
Yeah.
But I remember I was in middle school, and I don't remember how many. I think there's like either 3 or 4 books in that series, and so I don't know how many were out at that time. But like I'm still am, but I was really into writing at the time, and during like my like study hall period, I would just sit there and write. And the kid that sat next to me, one of my friends, would also write all the time. And he's like, "Oh, I'm working on this new like story," and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. What's it about?" He's like, "Yeah, this guy finds like an egg, and it turns out to be a dragon." I'm like, "So Aragon?" Like
So
he's like
Aragon.
rewriting the story.
That's awesome though. I mean, that's like cool. I wish I had any sort of drive like that in middle school. I might be a little bit more successful now.
I
I just dicked around for most of my life, and then I decided
it's
to actually try something.
outside of like online, like YouTube, which I've tanked our YouTube essentially, but just not taking the time to upload content, focusing on the back end stuff with other people.
Sorry,
But like I
guys.
was super into YouTube at the time, and I actually was successful to an extent with it. Same thing with like Twitch a couple years ago. At the time, like with my writing, like I actually wrote stuff like and completed it to an extent, right? Like it was like, all right, I'm done writing, and I put it in like a binder, like laminated it and everything's like, this is a completed work. And I did that twice, I think. I did one when I was in middle school, and it was like a few 100 page long story. I
You
did
still have it?
one. I think it's on the shelf back behind me. I'd have to go check. I'm pretty sure. I know I have it somewhere if it's
That's
not back
awesome.
there.
You should do a read
Uh,
of it sometime.
oh, it's so fucking awful. I when I know I when we moved here into our house here, I had I'm like I said, I still do writing, but I was like, oh, let me see like what this is like reading it back. And I'm sitting there like, this is written by a retarded child.
Oh God.
Like, this is terrible. It's just such like, how do I explain it? It's what like a kid thought would be cool, right? Where it's like, oh, you got these people like, and they're upright. Like, it doesn't read well at all. Like,
Yeah.
I had no like writing skills, and
But it's cool because that's where you came from, you know?
yeah,
Like,
it's still there. I did that when I was in second grade. My best friend and I, we wrote like a short story. It was like 50 pages maybe, and I remember my grandmother sneaking me into her place of work and making copies of it. We made like 20 copies of this. So we're using up all the ink, all the paper, and we took it back to school and we were selling it for like $2 each. And I was like, oh, we did it. I have no idea what happened to that. Unfortunately, I wish I had a copy of that. That'd be amazing.
oh, anybody
But
out there who's got a copy of Josh's old script,
yeah,
send it in. Or let
yeah.
us
So we
know in
had
the
that. Like I said,
comments.
the one I did in middle school, and then I did another one like I think early in high school, like my freshman year in high school. I wrote. I remember taking that and my one aunt. We went to a cafe and I sat down and I read the entire thing to her. It was like I said, it was only like 200 pages, maybe 150 or so.
That's
And I sat
still
down
a
and read the
very
whole thing to her.
supportive aunt.
Oh, she's awesome. Yeah, and she's very much into writing, and her career is based around working with like students. Like she's a professor, or not professor, but like she works with students to help them get them on like their career paths. Like she's a counselor essentially.
Oh,
Uh, but yeah, so she's a very supportive person in general. But yeah, she sat down, she's listening. She's like, "Oh, this is great. Like these are things you can do. I really like this." And I remember that I was like, "This is cool." And then I just didn't write anything again for ages.
yeah.
It's
I
I
grew up.
think around that time is when I like started focusing back in on YouTube and podcasting. But
I
always
grew up
I've
in a
always had the
more
go ahead.
a nurturing environment for creativity, I guess you could
Mm,
say. My dad is a Marine Vietnam veteran.
mm,
Had me like an oops child. He's like 70 something now, so I've always just had like a super old dad, but he was always just very like fit, 60s, 70s men, or I don't know what to say. Post World War II mentality of like pick
yeah.
yourself up by the bootstraps and work. I was working in
Mm.
a welding shop ever
I
since I was
love
like
that
12.
phrase too. It's
Yeah,
like, do you know what
right.
that means? It means do the impossible. This
Yeah,
is to get people through the trenches and over out of the trenches and just running across open fields to die almost essentially.
really? I didn't know that's where it came from.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's literally because you can't obviously picking yourself up by your bootstraps is impossible because you'd have to float. And so like they say, like pick yourself
Uh,
up by your bootstraps. We need to. It's meant to be like we need to do the impossible, which is like cross this no man's zone, no man's land. We need to get over there and take their trench or whatever scenario they're in, and
oh,
that's where
so
it
it's
comes
like a
from. Is
World War I thing? Huh.
I forget if it's World War One, World War Two.
Trench warfare
It's from
was
the
one.
military though. It's yeah. It's just
That's
meant
wild.
do the impossible. We need to do this.
Yeah, well, that's just expected of all of us millennials nowadays, huh?
That's why every time it comes up, I'm like, oh, I need to do the impossible to scrape by in life. Interesting.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thanks.
for the encouragement.
Walking around like you rent the place.
Yeah.
But I that was like my family is Mormon. I don't know if you know anything about that.
Mhm.
I'm not going to comment on that, but not a fan personally, not Mormon. And they all had very old school fashioned ideas of what work for men was like. So
Mhm.
I feel like I've been a creative person that was pretty much just stifled, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
No offense, Dad, if you're listening to this. But it just wasn't very into it. So I never really tried writing anything. I never tried doing anything because I was always
Mhm.
just so exhausted from working like a full time job while I was in high school. So
Makes sense.
yeah, it's like it's one of those things where it's like, man, I really wish I could have tried this out because this is really the first time I've ever just taken time for myself to get creative. So when you're
Mhm.
talking about like your high school writing and stuff, I'm almost jealous because it's like, man, that's practice right there.
Mhm.
Like practice makes perfect, and I'm doing that at 28, practicing on my first script with a
Yeah.
D&D podcast. And it's like, God, I wonder how awful this is going to look in 10 years. But hey,
Yeah.
practice. You just keep going at it. You can't worry about how bad you're being at the moment. You just try and get better, right?
You mentioned like being like stifled and like obviously I have no idea what your experience is like growing up, but like
Yeah.
in my mind, the first thing I think of is like, oh, like I can see how some people would view it as like, all right, you need to focus on like things that are actually going to help you in life. Like it might just be a perspective thing. Cause like I know like from in my family, I have the on that side of my family, everyone is like a scientist or professor in some way. They're all
Yeah.
very interested in like the arts to begin with. So it makes sense that they would be like very open minded to it and push me into like doing that stuff. Like I got into anime, like I say animation. I got into like stick figure animations and stuff like that back in the day when it was popular. And I remember my aunt, like again, like they were all like, "Oh, this is cool. Like this is how you could do this." Like they're just very supportive of like the arts and just uh going for like your dreams as opposed to you need to go to college, you need to get a job. Like it's they're not as interested in like the regimented side of things. But on the other side, like on the other hand, it's like I can totally see why parents would be like, I don't want you focusing on YouTube or writing or art or whatever. You need to focus on something you can make a career out of.
Yeah,
Like,
because it was I'm God, I wish I had a fucking dollar for every time my dad would say, playing video games will never make you money and you need to go to
with
work.
oh oh,
It would
I'd
be
love
all
to
the
meet him and
time.
talk about how I made money off of playing video games.
Oh God, I know, right? It's well, and that's the thing is like
Yeah.
it's like like I said, he was born in 1950. He's in a
Hmm.
different age. So thinking of like playing a video game as being something that could actually be helpful for the future, it didn't make any sense to him.
Did you ever sit
And
him down and be like, Dad, this is PewDiePie. You're in for an
no,
awakening.
no, I think nowadays
This
though
man is
we've
a
talked.
multimillionaire.
He's really supportive of
Mm,
he's really supportive of me now.
yeah.
Like he's like, oh yeah, you're doing a great job, all that stuff. But and it's nothing against him. He was doing the best he could, single father
Mhm.
type thing, all that. Uh,
Yeah, I don't mean
but
to put him down. I apologize. That was not my
right,
intention.
right, no, no, you're fine. Like I said, he's probably not gonna listen to this. He'll be fine.
Oh, well, in that case. No.
Yeah, in that case, fuck him. No, I'm just kidding. But the I would say the biggest thing is anytime I tried to show interest in some sort of like creativity, drawing, or
Mm,
anything like that, it would always be like, yeah, that's nice, but what are you gonna do to make money?
yeah.
Like it would be like, well, what do you want to do to grow up? You should be a doctor. You should be this. You
Mm,
should be that. I mean, come from a very poor family, so everyone's like, you got to go to college, and I did. I went to college. I went to
yeah.
Ohio State University. I got a bachelor's in human development and family science, and I don't fucking use it at all because it's sad and depressing. It's very sad field. I went into like social services. I worked in a homeless shelter. I worked in drug and rehabilitation,
College
and
is a weird age to decide. Like your late
yeah,
teens and early 20s is such a weird time to decide like what you want to do with your life. I don't
yeah.
use anything I learned in I went to three different universities. I don't use any of those.
What do you mean you're not using that Java book you got sitting over
I
there?
no, I don't. I don't use. I mean, I guess I do use computer science as a skill in general to an extent, but not really. I don't use.
Right.
I don't use anything in the medical field. Like I went to NC when I was at NC State. I did graphic design, so I do kind of use that. To be fair, but I
Well,
didn't
see, at least you
graduate
learned
from NC
something.
State. So.
I could tell you what a secure attachment's like, or
Ah,
what kind of a baby you might be having, depending on the way it's raised. But
yeah.
no, no, I didn't teach. They didn't teach me how to use Reaper in that, surprisingly
Yeah.
enough.
It is
So
a weird time to like we live in where it's like I when I was in like right after I got out of school. I'm talking about like university age. Like I was like, they tell you to go to college. I'm like, college is a rip off. There's no point. Like you're better off just going like get a job. Like all your skills you can learn online.
yeah,
And like thinking of it now, I'm like, yeah, it's still true. You can any skill can be learned online, but really the main value in college at this point is connections, like networking
yeah,
more than anything.
and I didn't
That
do
like
any of that.
yeah, professors can hook you up with like internships and businesses and things like that. And like that's just even the people you go to class with might be like, oh yeah, my dad owns this company, I'm going to go work for him, I just need to get an education here first. It's like, oh, I could get a job through like a person like that or whatever. Like the networking is the main value of college at this point, I think, not necessarily like the educational skill set necessarily,
Yeah, I
because
wish
that's
somebody
like
had told me that because I ducked my head in college the whole time and just went to class, was pretty much like a nobody. You know, I didn't talk to
Mm,
anyone. I just kept to myself, listen to earbuds on the walk there, everything like
yeah.
that.
I'm a
And
loud outgoing person, but like I didn't network to an extent. Like I don't like to party, so that didn't help. I don't touch like drugs or alcohol or anything, so that didn't help. I remember there was a kid in my class. He's like, "Oh, we're doing like a study session," or I forget how he framed it, and they uh, reserved a room in the library, and I go up there. He's like, "All right, hey, how's it going, man?" Uh, so anyway, yeah, you smoke, right? Like we're all gonna smoke, and I'm just like, "No, I'm not smoking weed in the library with you."
oh, that's funny as fuck.
It was like, I don't know why you think that's who I am, but whatever. I
It's
thank you for the
college, man.
compliment, I guess.
No, I did too much partying, not enough networking. I would make
Mm,
friends with people and then I would never meet them again because I'd be on to the next one, you know?
yeah.
I never used it like you're supposed to. That's a good tip for
Mm,
any of the kids listening. Use college as a network because it
yes.
is and you need it.
Yes. Party, do drugs, abuse alcohol. That's how you get to meet people.
Yeah, you don't have to
Don't do
do
that.
all that. You can if you want. I mean, it's there. Trust me.
You know, who am I to tell you what to do with your life?
Yeah, it didn't work out super well for me, but I have
Yeah.
some cool memories of like my
What's a
roommates jumping
little
into
bit of
fires.
crack?
Yeah, yeah. What's a little bit? Okay, maybe not that.
Yeah.
Pot and
Just the
stick to the
worst
pot and
possible
alcohol.
scenario. It's like,
Yeah,
so you're selling your body to men of the night. Who am I to judge? So,
yeah. Hey, it's the oldest profession, so
yeah.
yeah, that's wild. But no, I
Yeah.
I loved college. I thought it was great. That's where I met my wife. That's where I met my
Mhm.
best friend. It was like the best man at my wedding. But as far as like useful life things go, I
Yeah.
didn't learn shit, man. I didn't learn anything from those classes. I just learned a whole bunch of stuff they wanted me to learn for a test and
I,
immediately forgot
I was
it.
gonna say that's how I felt about a lot of it. Like I got frustrated because I felt like I don't need to be taking all these biology classes if I'm here for computer science. Like I don't need to be taking high end like calculus classes. Like
Right.
this isn't like I understand there are fields where this is valuable, but man, like there's no. I mean, having a basic like knowledge of biology is good in general, like knowing how to like diagnose like medical issues with yourself or whatever, or like how to take care of yourself. Like I get that having that is good and useful, but for most, the vast majority of people, they will never need to use calculus ever in their life. I'm like, it doesn't make sense that I'm paying to come here and waste my time in this class. Like, why do I need to do this in order to get a degree in a different field? Like,
Yeah. And I
especially for
mean,
like, imagine if I went to school for history. I wouldn't need to use any of those skills. It's just me reading up on things essentially. Like just knowing the history of stuff. Like it's so weird.
well, yeah, and the older I've gotten, I've realized that it's all just kind of bullshit anyway, right? Because
Mm,
I have a degree. I got a bachelor's degree in social services now, and if I wanted to, I could go apply to be like work at Job and Family Services or whatever. You know, I could be like a case manager or something there.
mm,
But it's been I graduated in 2020, so it's been 4 years now since I graduated from then, and I've been technically unemployed now, I guess, since I've been doing this podcast for almost a year now.
mm.
Like, what the hell am I going to remember from college that lets me walk into a job and family service and be a case manager? Nothing. They're just going to teach me what I need to do. So, like,
Yeah.
this piece of paper that got me in the door doesn't really mean dick. I don't remember anything from, I mean, you know, obviously it would come back to me or whatever. I'm sure I have a little bit higher than average knowledge than your average person on raising children, maybe as
Yeah.
far as like not even raising them as being a parent, but like, you know, from a psychological standpoint and the different, um, different like theories and stuff that you can apply to raising a child or whatever. I'm sure
Mm,
some of those things I might pick up on again quickly, but for the most part, realistically, what do I know more than somebody else who would be coming into the job? Because you're just going to teach them the same shit you would teach me. You
yeah.
know, I might have a little bit
Mm,
better of a understanding from an outside perspective, but it's really not gonna make that big of a difference. Like it's just wild to me. It seems like it's a barrier that they made to try and keep poor people out of good paying jobs, but then poor
Mhm.
people started to get in through that barrier. So then they were like, fuck, now we just got to make it like what it is. And that's like you said, it's like the networking thing. You know, we never
Mhm.
could say that it's you got to know somebody to be able to get this good job. But nowadays, since everybody has the piece of paper that we used to use to gatekeep, now we just have
Mhm.
to be like, no, you legit just have to know the right people or else you're not going
Yeah.
to get in, you know? And it's just sad. It's like, ah, God, it's just one giant high school. Once you graduate,
It
you just realize
absolutely. It is
everyone's,
shocking. Yeah.
yeah.
You're like, "Oh, it turns out everyone's still just massively immature."
Hmm.
They don't
Yeah.
really yeah.
Yeah.
You
There's no
mentioned, like
secret to being an adult.
yeah, and it's interesting, like, you'll see, like, the requirements for certain positions in jobs where it's like, "Oh, you need, like, a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or whatever." It's like, "Okay, but I have real world experience." Like
Yeah.
like, not to, like, put down this person's education, but, like, I've been doing this for years. Like, I'm sure there are a lot of things I know about it that they won't know because they've just been sitting looking at books, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And
Or they've been in
different
classes and
yeah, different businesses will value it differently. But,
it's
like,
so weird.
I've never had to use a degree to get into a position that I've worked in. And the job I have now, uh, you know, even though I plan on leaving, it's like they were asking for a bachelor's degree, and I was like, yeah, I don't have that in this field, but I've got 5 years of experience doing it. And they're like, okay, how do you think that applies? I'm like, pretty darn well.
Pretty good because I do it. 'Cause
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like
it's
I have absolutely no formal training in audio engineering, but I would
yeah,
say over this last year with all of my practice in Reaper, I would be a better starting out day one audio engineer than I would be a case manager, even though I'm
mhm,
more qualified for the latter. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it's just
well,
it's weird. It's like you can do this thing and like if you're motivated enough, you can get yourself into whatever field you want.
mhm,
You just can't expect to make money off of it from somebody else. You know, like
yeah,
you have to you got to just have that drive. Like if you want to be a I'm sure there's certain things obviously like being a doctor or something like that, you can't just go like experience your way into being a
yeah,
doctor. But for most things, especially when it comes to like dream jobs of eh, anything that isn't being a lawyer or doctor, you could probably find a way to get into. You know,
yeah,
anything that doesn't require that formal training just to pass a whatever, you could
mhm,
probably just work your way through and get into it. Like there's a lot of guys I know who worked construction and they work their way up through that to become the foreman or something like that. And all they
yeah,
have is a high school education. But if you want to apply from the outset, you have to have a bachelor's in construction and planning or whatever
mm,
it is. And it's like those two different routes that people don't tell kids normally, where it's like, you have to go to college to go do this thing. Well, kind of, because if you don't go to college and you end up working as like the grunt for a while and work your
mhm,
way up through it, then you realistically could probably be doing the same thing. Hell, I know people who work store manager jobs at like Walmart that make like 100,000 a year.
mhm.
It's you could do anything you want and the money's there. I think college is just one of those like it's a very
It's
important
just a
thing.
different avenue to do it to an extent.
Well, and I think it's just gotten bloated. Because like
Mhm,
what you said, I mean, it's almost like you have to have professors in there that their entire job exists just because it exists.
yeah,
Like like knowing theoretical math or whatever for a degree where you're gonna be uh I don't know, a painter or something. Like what is that realistically applying to?
mhm,
How many people do you think really need to take theoretical like calculus or whatever the hell it is?
yeah,
Uh and not that many, but they still require it on so many degrees. It's like it's a requirement because it's there, because it has to be, because it exists. Like
mhm,
instead of just having one person who is very knowledgeable in this and they teach one class to seven or eight people who are going to end up, taking up the mantle of whatever this thing is, they
yeah,
require thousands of people to take this class that they'll never use again, just so that way the professors can have a job and can teach this thing over and over again. And it's like a weird bloated cycle that just keeps like making itself bigger and bigger. And it's like anymore, I went to Ohio State University and I like to say that it's a football it's a football team with a college attached to it because
That's
that's
at
all they
at
ever.
a lot of college universities.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's all about money, it's all about this, all about that, and it's like,
Mhm.
is it really about education? Because you guys seem to put way more effort into football than you do anything else. I mean, don't get me
That's how
wrong,
I have
they're a
family
great
that live in
university.
state college, so Penn State is a bit of the same way at times.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's sad. I mean, because I'm all for education. I think I'm one of those people who might be controversial that think that university should be free or at the very least
Mhm.
like way more affordable for people because education is important and having people be educated is necessary. But unnecessary education, in my opinion, almost clogs it up. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's almost like how can I fit all of this shit into my brain? At a certain point, I feel like I'm almost neglecting the thing that I actually want to be doing just so I can make room in my head for all this bullshit that I have to learn that I'm not even going to use after this. It's like eh,
Part of the
I don't
problem
know,
too,
it's
then,
like
if you try and go to a school that's like more specialized that cuts out all that extra stuff, it's way more expensive. Because I
yeah.
know I looked at a university that was specializing in film and like graphic arts, and it was like $72,000 just for 2 years, and I was like,
My god.
ugh, like I really like this, but man, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't
I
go,
mean,
obviously, but
well, and that's another I mean, that's another gate right there though. Yeah, that's
mm,
like that's a school for the privileged. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like that's a school for the people whose mommy and daddy can afford to pay for them to go to that and cut through the bullshit and just get what they need.
I used to work for a university that was sort of like that too, where
Yeah.
it their whole thing is like we're a very private school. They only have 3,600 people,
Oh
students,
wow. They gotta be milking
and
all them then.
I forget the exact number. It fluctuates by like three roughly every semester.
Wow.
Where like they and it does not go up or down year on year. Really, it's literally right around the exact same number every single year. They're like, no, we want to maintain this because it makes us special. It's exclusive and it's super expensive. And I remember my one cousin. This is before I even worked there. He was interested in going there, and he's like, "What about scholarships? Like, we don't, you're not going to get much money. Like, you just need to pay."
You just
He's like,
have to
"Oh, what?"
pay.
He's like, "I
Wow.
can't come here." Then like, okay,
It's like probably for the best, honestly.
yeah.
That's nuts.
But yeah, no, it that they a lot of places love exclusivity. They're like, it makes them feel important. I'm like, what are you getting for that though? Like the education, like especially having worked there, I'm like, the education is not better than anywhere else. It's just
Yeah.
you're paying more money to pretend like you're better than other people. Is
Well,
all it
because
is.
it's resumes, probably.
I
You say
guess.
you went to this place and then you
Mhm.
have, the
Oh, this
credentials from
person has money. Good. We should hire them.
exactly.
Maybe they can
Oh,
give us
Yale,
money.
cool. Here, come
Yeah.
come on aboard. We don't care what you are if you're a massive dickhead. Just come on in. You got a piece of
Yeah.
paper that's fancy. I mean, I fall into the camp of again, politically controversial, but I think that education and healthcare should just not be something people worry about or go into massive amounts of debt for. I'm not saying it has to be 100% free,
Mhm.
but more accessible at the very least
Yeah,
because
like guns.
it yeah, yeah, exactly. We
I
could
mean,
just
if it
that's the
was
way to
as
sell it.
accessible as guns, we'd have a lot more educated, healthy people.
Hold on, I think you're onto something here.
Yeah,
What we need to do is start offering a college education with gun
there
purchases.
you go. Yeah,
Then we solved it.
yeah.
You can have education. Although here in Ohio, they just got real mad at that. They recently passed a thing where you can concealed carry without even having a class anymore. So every idiot and their mom has a fucking gun stuffed in their waistband.
That's
It's like the Wild
that's
West out here.
yeah, I feel like I try to avoid not that I try to avoid like politics in general because it's I
Right.
think it is important to like keep up with it and know what's at least going on in general to an extent. But like I don't want to sit here and just be like depressed reading through all the horrible shit that's happening either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
But
true.
like the main talking points like we need to think about like kids, we need to think about like our own country before other countries, and it's like okay, in my mind, like if we wanted to like to improve our country, we'd want them to be like the smartest, healthiest people on earth, you would think. And it's like no, we don't want that.
Eh, that doesn't make people rich, though.
It's like we just want our people to be armed. We want
Yeah.
stupid armed people, so when other countries invade, they'll blindly obey us and shoot them.
I
I
mean, they're
guess
doing a
is the
great job
point.
of it.
Yeah. It's
They're
like
doing an amazing
China
job.
can't kill us if we kill ourselves first.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, because me and Uncle Dan's gonna go take the shack. We're gonna
yep.
sit in the deer stand and get us some Koreans.
The one
God.
company I work with, I was waiting to hear back from them all week. I emailed them last Monday, as of this recording. So this is it's December. We're in December. Good grief.
Yeah, it's beginning of December.
If this is if this shows like how like sleep deprived I am at times, like how out of touch I am with what day it is,
I know,
I
right?
had no idea what today was.
That's why I missed our first one. I literally didn't even realize what day it was. That was my
Yeah.
bad. Sorry about that. I
No, it's all
looked at my
good.
phone and it popped up, and I was like, "Oh shit! I was supposed to talk to
I
freaking
if
Josh."
I'm not sitting in my office here, I have like a dry erase board calendar to my right, sitting right next to me. If I'm not sitting here, I have no idea what day it is at anything. But like last Thursday was Thanksgiving, and so I sent them an email on Monday. The company I work with, the one that I work with, on Monday, thinking, okay, maybe a couple of them are out of the office because of Thanksgiving, whatever. It's now Friday the following week. I still have not heard back from them. And I was talking to my coworker, and she's like, yeah, they're not in the office. They're out for hunting season now. I'm like, good grief.
What?
I was like, this is the people I'm dealing with. Like, they literally can't show up for work for a week, 2 weeks for Thanksgiving and then hunting season. All right.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, people deserve to have hobbies. Like,
Oh, for sure.
I got nothing against people who want to hunt or they want to do that kind of stuff. My
But for
dad's
the
a
entire
hunter.
staff of like 20 some people to take off the entire week for
That's a
hunting,
hell
like,
of.
you can't, no one can check your email, like not one person. Really?
I hope they all make it back. That's all.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I had no idea what was going on at first. I'm like, were they all in like some serious, is they dead? What's happening here? Like, I've heard
Somebody
back from
thinks
any of
someone was a
them.
deer. They pulled a Dick
Yeah.
Cheney.
Yeah. It's coming right for us. Takes a minute.
What's moving around out there? No,
Fun,
that's a
side story about that. I think it was called Vice, is in the movie, right? With it's about Dick Cheney with Christian Bale plays him.
yeah.
And my girlfriend's parents watched that movie, and their review of it was hilarious. They're like, we didn't really like it. It was too political. And we're just like, it's about a politician.
Yeah.
I don't know what you thought was going to happen.
Oh man, I'm a big fan of CNN and stuff, but they just get too political sometimes. It's just it makes no sense. I'm watching the news and they give updates on
They
like
just keep talking
representatives.
about things that are happening in my area, and I don't care.
Oh God, man, yeah, my dad is one of those people. It's like trying to talk sense into him. He's a retired veteran, gets disabilities because he's had like 80 cancers from Agent Orange and stuff like that. Like, it's a miracle he's still around, honestly. But he was talking to me about something. I can't remember what it was, but he said something about how his Social Security was getting cut because of something they passed recently. And he was like, fucking Democrats taking away our Social Security stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I guarantee you, if you look at it, it was somebody you voted for that did that. Like, I can't imagine.
I'd be happy if I was going to get Social Security, because I know I'm just paying into it for other people to take it as well. There's no way I'm getting that.
There's no way. Yeah, our generation's fucked out of that. I don't think anybody is. That's why they keep pushing the Roth IRAs and shit. They're like, you better have your ass covered because the government won't.
Yeah. No, I like my plan is like, I know I'm almost positive I'm not going to get it. So I'm just making investments as smartly as I can now.
Yep.
Just saving up.
Yeah, exactly.
All into NFTs. It's going to come back to me, I promise.
Yeah, I put all my money in the doggy coin or Dogecoin, whatever it's called.
Dude, Board Ape Yacht Club. It's all in there.
There we go. Yeah. I had a friend who was when GameStop was doing its whole takeoff thing. He's like, I'm gonna be a day trader, and he like started fucking around with it. And I'm pretty sure he lost almost $1,000.
Well, the problem is, by the time something becomes like notable, like that you're hearing about on the news, it's too late to invest in it.
Yeah,
like in that regard, like the GameStop thing in particular. Some stuff, like, for sure you can still invest in it. Like, Tesla stock's going up. It's like, yeah, it had been going up for a while, and it's went up for a while after that. Microsoft is another one, like Apple.
Fucking mouth shut.
Yeah, he's doing a great job of that. Yeah, they're gonna kill our company. They're not advertising, but fuck them. It's like, okay, that's a good way to get people like you. Yeah.
Well, he's playing the hard to get, you know. It's like the girl in the corner. You want to
Mhm.
you really want to impress her or whatever because she just has no interest in you and tells you to fuck off. So you
Yeah.
just try that much harder. That's
So
probably
you
what
sit
he's
over in
doing.
the corner and yell bitch at her and
Yeah,
wait for her to come over and go out with you.
yeah.
That's his strategy.
Come follow me on Twitter. I mean X.
Yeah. No, we don't call it X on here. No, it's Twitter. Unless you're referring to a video you saw on Twitter, in which case it's an X video.
X video.
Then we
Yeah.
call it X. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I guess every time you post a video on there, it's an X video now.
Yeah. That's the only
That's
time
nice.
we refer to it as X because it's much funnier that way. But
Man, Twitter is a freaking nightmare though. It's I got on there the other day and it's like I have the account that I run on there is the Dungeons Shinobi one. So
Mhm.
um I get on there for obviously anime stuff, promoting our podcast, all that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I can't fucking get on that app without seeing some sort of porn every single time. And I've turned on the like safe search, I've turned on as many things as I could, and they just cannot filter the porn out. There's so much fucking porn on that goddamn thing. I'm like, I don't want to see all this weird anime shit. I'm just here for like Naruto, man. I don't want to like look at people's weird drawings of Naruto and Sasuke fucking getting it on. I'm good. Like, Christ. I don't know if it's just like human beings or if it's just Twitter. But it's such a mess. I can't get on there half the time. It's sad. I don't do social media in general anyway. It's mostly just like Reddit and stuff for my own personal thing. But it's like I don't see the appeal of how people would even get on this and have fun. If I wasn't doing it to try and promote something, there's no fucking way I would be on
No.
this website.
Yeah, to me, like it's the same thing with Facebook where people just love they form these echo chambers. Sometimes like it's a lot of times it's like subconsciously where they just block things they don't want to see, and then they
Yeah.
don't realize like, oh, they've just made an echo chamber. So they're happy to hop on like Facebook and Twitter where it's like, oh, this is great. Like these people, like I agree, like this is great. It's like finally sensible people. And it's like, yeah, but you blocked off everyone else.
Yeah, right.
But
Like that's why. That's why
yeah.
every time you see a scientific study about like wearing masks or something, it's always
Mhm.
going to be in your favor no matter what side you fall on.
Yeah.
Because you don't follow anybody else. So,
That's part of the problem with like targeted advertising too, is like it's the same sort of thing with Google results. Like they're gonna put it to like the results are gonna show like things that you've uh, already shown like an interest in to an extent, where it's like okay, yeah, like
maybe.
this
It could
guy
be.
likes Naruto. So if he's searching like swords on Google, now it's gonna be like oh katanas, and it
Yeah.
might pull up like katanas that used in like Naruto or whatever. Like it's gonna skew that sort of direction.
Yeah, but it goes further than that, man. They're
Mm.
listening all the time. I'm not like
Yeah.
being conspiracy theory. This is legit. The other day we were talking about I can't remember, me and my wife were talking about something and I think I was making a joke about like Jason Aldean doing um was it Roblox? Because Roblox keeps having all these
Interesting.
stupid ads where they're like, "Oh, come to like State Farm in Roblox and hang out with whoever your favorite person is." So I was making like a
Is this
joke
not
with
a
her.
children's game? What is it? Why do they
It's a
have
children's game. Yeah, I don't know,
why
dude.
would they have
It's
State Farm?
fuck. I don't know. They have like State Farm Winter Wonderland. I don't know. I've heard
What
the
is
ad a
the
thousand and a half times,
who
but
is their audience?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the. You know what? That's a good point. Who the fuck are they trying to insure? I never even
Hey
thought
kids,
about
do you
that.
like affordable home insurance? What's
Yeah,
that?
right.
Don't worry about it.
Have
Here's
Jason
Jason
Aldean tell you
Aldean.
about it.
Who's that? Don't worry about it.
But that's the thing. I never listen to country and I don't fucking play Roblox. And the other day I was on Reddit and like 5 different like country tour things popped up in there. And I was like, I never search any of this. So they had to
Mhm.
have listened to the conversation where I was making jokes about Roblox and Jason Aldean. And here I am saying it again. I bet you I'm going to get a million fucking Jason
That
Aldean Roblox things.
that
It's
definitely
wild.
happens with Amazon because we have the Amazon devices throughout our house.
Yeah.
And we were in talking like right before we got our dog, we were talking about it constantly, obviously. And it's like, oh, we got dog food, like the bowl, like everything. Like I'm talking about all the stuff we need to get. And so we're just talking about the dog or just dogs in general constantly. And then in Amazon, it's like, oh, recommended for you, dog, blankets, seat covers. It's like, yep, yeah, they're
Yep.
creeping on me.
They're listening. Yeah, I know. We got
Yeah.
an echo in like every room because I'm a podcast maniac. I listen to like if I'm not doing
Mm.
something, I'm a very auditory person, so I have to have like music or a
Yes.
conversation or something in the
Mhm.
background. So I just will tell Alexa wherever I'm at, like, hey, play this, play that. Um, and yeah, it's ridiculous the stuff that they listen to. Sometimes I don't know if yours does this, but does yours randomly just like say shit? Ours
Yeah. Oh,
recently
yeah.
has
We'll
been
be there's I've talked about this on the show before, but like one example is like we'll be sitting in like the living room watching TV, and the one in the kid we have the show like the 11-inch like the big Echo Show in the kitchen
mm,
with the big display, and it'll just like pop on, and be like, "Oh, we wanted to let you know like that this is available and you can try this." It's like, "What? No, no."
yeah,
Like
like what the fuck?
with that, like we'll be there's a couple instances where we'll be going to bed, and our bedroom's on the other side of the house, and the one in the kitchen or like in the living room, we'll start talking about like the weather. And it's like
Yeah,
there is nothing we said even remotely close to that. Like
it's
nothing
fucking
resembling
creepy.
weather. We weren't even talking, and it just pops on, and it's super creepy.
Yeah, I'll be in the kitchen like because I call myself the house husband first and foremost, and
Mm.
I always make meals and stuff for my wife for work, and I'll be in the kitchen cooking, and it will randomly like stop whatever I'm listening to and just be like, I couldn't find any results for blah blah
Yeah.
blah, and I'm like, I didn't fucking say shit.
It's super creepy because like we'll be like I said, we'll be sitting in the living room and we'll just have like the lights dimmed or whatever, and we'll just be like reading or something, and it'll just talk, and it's like this is horrifying. It's like
Yeah,
no one said there's been no noise whatsoever, so there's nothing for it to react to.
or like the
But
light, there's like a little blue light on it that'll just pop up randomly, or like
yeah,
yellow. It's just like it'll randomly
it
pop up, and it's like,
that's
what the
what's
fuck are
creepy
you
at
doing?
night. Like when we'll be asleep or like laying in bed, and the light comes on. It's like what is it doing?
Oh, do you have it hooked up to the lights? Oh, fuck that.
Oh, well, that's a separate thing. I meant like the blue light will turn on as if
Oh,
it's
on
responding
the
to you.
thing.
We
Yeah.
yeah, I've had for like 10 years, I've had like Hue bulbs, like the Philips Hue bulbs, and we
Yeah.
have them in every room of the house. Not every light is a Hue bulb, but we have at least one in every room. So like when we come home at night, we can just turn it on and it's nice and convenient. And there was a time, and I know I talked about this on the show. There was a time like a couple months ago, we're laying in bed and it's just we have the blackout curtains in the rooms. So it's always pitch black at night in our place,
Yeah.
and we're laying there. And if you have the smart bulbs, do you know it's not like a flash when they turn on? It's like it's quick, but it's like a gradual like
Yeah.
turn on. And we're
Yeah.
laying in bed, and one of the lights in the living room turns on, and it's like, what the hell? That's creepy. And I go out and I'm like, hey, turn off the light, and it turns it off. I go back
It's
to bed, and like 5 minutes go by, and the light comes back on. I'm like, that is freaking creepy. And I go out and I turn it off again. I'm like, this better not happen again. And like another like 5-10 minutes goes by and it turns on. And I'm like, I'm done with this. I go out, I take the bulb out, I unplug the lamp. I'm like, I'll deal with this in the morning. It would have been creepy if it turned back on
if it
after all
turned back
that.
on, I was just thinking
Yeah.
that the light bulb, you
But
put it on the table and it
yeah,
turns
I
on.
think that was a result of the bulb just being old. I think the bulb was like 10 or 12 years old or something.
Mm.
It was an original Hue bulb that I bought literally after right after they launched. So I think it was just a bad bulb. Um,
Well, hell,
we
the
haven't had
last
a
10
problem
years, I'd
since.
say it was a good bulb.
Yeah, but yeah, but yeah, like I think that was just the case. It was just old and it had run its course.
Yeah, we've thought
But yeah,
about
it's
doing that.
super creepy.
That's the
Just
thing that freaks me out is
pitch
like when
black
the
with the
shit
light
fucks
coming.
up.
I'm just glad it was like one of the white bulbs because we have some of the colored ones, and
Mm.
as a gag sometimes like I'll change it to red, and so like my girlfriend will come back in the room, it's like red evil looking lights. I'm like,
Yeah.
can you imagine if if it turned on at night and it was just red lights turning on? It's like, oh god.
It starts
Yep,
it
we're
starts playing
cursed.
Welcome to the Jungle in the Alexa
Oh,
thing and the Roomba starts attacking you or something.
I did that to her once too. I was in the office here and I turned on the Roomba, I turned the lights on and off, I was just having them flicker. And then we have one of the Dyson like bladeless fans. I just turned that on. I'm like, on one hand, it's nice that we have all these things that we can just remotely control. Like we had the AC unit at the time. And I was like, it's nice being able to control this. Like when we're on the road, like I don't want all this stuff running when we're not home. Like if we're gonna be
Right.
gone for like a week, I'm like, I don't want the air running. Like it's not worth paying for it. So I'll turn it on like right when we leave. But like she's sitting in the living room and I'm just in here in the office and I'm like, I'll just turn everything on and see what happens. And she's like, well, what's going on?
She said, "I think I'm being haunted by an electric ghost."
Yeah. But yeah, when it goes awry, it's terrifying, especially at night when it's dead silent, completely pitch black,
I
lights are
can.
coming on.
Oh
You know,
man, I can only imagine.
it's
That's
creepy.
we've been talking about like doing that with our lights and stuff because we live
Mhm.
in a super old house.
To be fair, it is super nice and convenient having the lights like that.
The only thing I'm worried about is just like that where it's like turning on randomly and stuff. It's
Like I
just
said, that only happened once in like the 12 years I've had it,
that's
and it was
true.
just one bulb at the end of its life cycle. I it Other than that, I've never had a problem.
I just need
It,
them
it
to have a lawnmower. That's what I need.
uh,
One of those like Roomba lawnmower things. Have you seen that?
I looked at getting one of those at one point. And I was like, I'm not that lazy yet. Like
I'm pretty fucking lazy. I would do
it
it.
takes it takes us 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, my yard takes like about an hour to do, but I got a
uh,
push mower.
Fair
But
enough.
the only thing that scares me is I got a little wiener dog, and
Mm,
I just don't know if he'd survive. God,
I could see that being a problem.
that would be the saddest, most terrifying thing in the world for him is if there's like a little robot with blades chasing him around the fucking yard.
It's it's weird because like I'm definitely one of those people where it's like I'm always for like new technologies, getting the coolest tech, and just being as current as possible. But at the same time, I also do like weigh it out. Like, am I getting my money back in this? Like, is it worth it? Excuse me.
Right.
And for like the I don't know what they're called, like the Roomba lawnmowers. Like I'm like, how long will it take me to recoup my money in this? Where it's like it doesn't it'll save me like a few minutes or whatever. Like it wouldn't be that bad. But like I don't know how much they are, but like
I
even
have
if it's
no
like
idea.
I'll make up like $800. I don't think that's completely unreasonable. I'm like $800. Like, how much am I paying for electricity on top of that to charge it? Not much. But like, how much is that in gas? Like, how many times could I mow the lawn and using the riding mower? It's like
Yeah.
quite a
Well,
few times.
and like the thing I've seen too is that like as we were thinking about switching over to from our gas car to an electric car, they have like
Mhm.
a cool thing here in Ohio where they'll do I think it's like some sort of a rebate basically the government will pay for.
Uh,
So we were thinking about doing that because like we got solar panels off of that type of stuff.
mhm.
It's really nice. But the when I was looking it up, they say that to be the most eco like I guess what
Oh,
are they? Oh,
Jesus
Jesus
Christ.
Christ, I can't think. Environmental friendly.
Mhm.
Use the gas one as long as you can because all you're doing is sending it off to a scrapyard. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
sending that off to go be waste to supposedly be more, environmentally friendly, but really you're
Mhm.
just adding to junk. So it's a weird balance we find ourselves in, isn't it? I feel like our parents never had to deal with this kind of shit. Like
No.
they didn't
But
care. They just bought whatever they wanted, did whatever they wanted. It's like they didn't care about if the world was gonna end because I bought a fucking lawnmower. Like just
I was
wild.
looking this up while you were talking as well, and the prices for these robot lawnmowers range from $1,000 to 2,500,
Holy shit.
and the $1,000 one is the cheapest one. It's on sale 40% off right now for 600.
I just
But the majority of them are like 1,000 to we'll say 1,500 basically.
I just feel like your yard would turn into a horror show of like dead animals. Like you're gonna get
One of
like
our
mice
neighbors
or
has one, but I mean their yard's like it's super small anyway. I feel like if you have any reasonable amount of space, like it just won't have the battery to do it. I also, like I said, if it's anything like the Roomba, I have one of the original style Roombas as well. So like I'm manually emptying it. Where I know the new ones have like the towers that will like suck out
yeah.
the debris and stuff. I don't know how well they work. I haven't bothered looking into it. But like
Oh, I
if
love
it's
mine.
anything like that where you're having to clean it out relatively frequently, it's just not worth the hassle in my mind, spending all
What
this extra money on it.
and like what does your yard look like after that? You know what I mean? Like do you
Yeah.
have like a bunch of little lines and then like one part's a little more grown because it died there or like it seems weird,
Mhm.
but I don't know. If anything, I would just get one of those electric like push mowers because those things are sweet.
Mhm.
They're like silent. It's nice.
I
But
could, I don't know if it was the last guest I was talking to. Me, it was a coworker. my grandfather always trying to pawn stuff off on me whenever we go to see him. And I remember one time, this is ages ago, I was just rooting through his shed, one of his sheds, for something. And I was like, "Oh, you got one of these." And it's one of the like old school lawn like mowers where it's just you push it and it has the rotating blades. Which
Oh yeah,
I don't it's just I don't know if it has a specific name. But he's like, "You can have that." I'm like, "Why would I want this?"
dude, I
I'm
want
like,
one of those.
it's like 100 years old, and it would take me forever.
We the guy who's on the podcast with us, Briar,
Mm,
he has
yeah,
one and he posted a video in our Discord actually the other day because we were talking about these and he was like, I
yeah.
fucking love it. I just sharpen it every once in a while and it just cuts right through. It's silent.
Mm.
I was like, damn, he like talked me into getting one.
It is completely silent, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I'd rather just get the job done quickly.
I mean, I guess it depends. He said it cuts right through, and like on his video, he was doing it one-handed, and it was working pretty well for him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He had me pretty well convinced. But they make like new ones. Obviously, I don't know how well like a
Oh, for sure.
100-year-old one would work, but like the
Yeah.
new ones with like the different blades or something, I'm sure that they might work a little bit better. But I don't know. I think it'd be worth it. Again, I'm still just scared of my dogs. They're so stupid and they like to stick their nose into everything. I'd just be afraid they'd run right into it while I'm walking and not looking or something.
Oh, this is it. I'm gonna post this in our chat. The audience won't be able to see this, but yeah, it's just these super old like lawnmowers. His is
Oh,
not green.
that's awesome.
His is so rusted. It's just all brown.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that doesn't look like it's in bad shape, but okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's not
yeah.
yours.
That's obviously his. That's just some random one I found online to illustrate my point. But that's literally what it is. It's that style. You just push it around. It just is a little as it's turning.
Yeah, that's sweet though.
But yeah, like that. Like he has like I don't know how many like scythes in his shed. I'm like, first of all, I'm not letting my grass grow so tall that I need to use a scythe. But
Oh, a scythe. I didn't understand what you
yeah.
said at first.
Oh,
A
sorry.
scythe. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you imagine? That's hardcore though.
They're
Nobody would come to your house to fuck with you if they saw you
they're
mowing your yard with
fascinating
a
to
scythe.
watch like people use them. It is interesting. Where it's just like, dude, like watching someone who knows what they're doing, it's really interesting because they're like, doot, 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 and it's all cut and they just pull it down. And it's all nice and neat. And it's like, it looks fantastic, but I just don't want to do that.
Yeah,
I prefer modern technology most often in these cases.
I
Anything that
know.
lessens the amount of work I have to do where I can get back to things I'm passionate about is ideal.
If I did that, I know that there's two things that would happen. One is my yard would be completely uneven because there's no
Mm.
fucking way in hell I would be accurate with
And
the
then
size.
you turn into an anime character like a lolly. It's a small girl with a giant scythe. That's probably what'll happen.
Yeah, exactly. I turned
Yeah.
into a small girl specifically. That's what happens
Mhm.
when I mow my yard too. I like to
But
wear
you're
Sailor
legal because
Moon
you're actually a
outfits.
couple thousand years old, so it's okay.
Yeah. It's so legal though. It's fine.
Mhm.
Oh man. But I feel like the other thing would be I wouldn't have ankles. I would
Mm.
get myself every time. I'm so uncoordinated. There's no fucking way. I can barely work
It's
out
weird
without
because
hurting
like
myself.
you hold the site, but then there's like a little notch on it that's like 6 inches long, maybe depends
Yeah,
on
that
which
little
one you're using.
handle.
Yeah, and you hold onto that, so you're holding it fully extended away, so it's never actually even remotely near you. But
Ah.
yeah, I mean I'm not a professional, obviously. I was born in the modern era, um, but yeah, it's they're interesting. But
Well,
I'd rather
now I
use a
think
lawn
I'll
like
do it.
an actual lawnmower.
I don't know. I'm kind of into this. I think I'm gonna dress up in an outfit and go out
Yeah,
scything
dark
my yard.
black hood in the middle of the night, walking along.
Only mow the yard at midnight.
Yeah, yeah, and people come out and you just slowly extend your
Point at
hand
them.
to them, like
Yeah.
beckoning them towards you to join you. And they run back inside, and their wife doesn't believe them, and she's like, "I'm tired of this.
It's
I
the
can't put up
fucking
with this.
neighbor.
You're constantly coming and telling me ridiculous stories at night. I think we need to separate." And they get a divorce, and their whole family falls apart. The kids are upset, but they pick to stay with their mom because their dad's hallucinating. They don't feel safe with him.
Then you pull a Zillow on them, buy the house, and flip it.
Yeah, yeah, and you're
That's
like
the goal all
sucker.
along. And then rinse and repeat. You just keep getting them going.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like I hope it doesn't bother you guys, but I do cut my yard with a scythe. That kind of bothered the last people. I'll
Yeah.
try and be not
If
as
it's any consolation, your soul will be guided to a better place.
Yeah. The River Styx is just across the way.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But
Oh.
oh man. Anyway, we could probably wrap up here pretty soon. We're a little over an hour. Went a bit later than I anticipated, but I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap up here.
Um, Nothing I can think of really. I mean, it's just I think we started out with the anime
Yeah.
D&D and we
We
moved
kind
into
of brought
scythe.
back full circle with the lolly girl with the scythe.
That's yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That's true. This is what I like. I like having a conversation with somebody. I don't like
Mhm.
going onto the podcast and them being like, we have to stick on this topic because I am a wanderer. I will
Yeah.
talk about fucking whatever.
It's, obviously, it's everyone's like preference. I find it way easier to listen to shows where it's like I don't have to sit there and focus on the specific segments a lot of the times. It's
Yeah,
we've done it from time to time where we've had specific segments, but I'm like, it's whatever. But
yeah.
if it's wandering, it's like okay, it's just easier to listen to at times. But
Well, as long as there's not like a lull too, I feel like that comes across in the audio
yeah,
really plainly, as if like, oh wait, they ran out of things to talk about. You know.
yeah.
But
But
no, I'm good. I mean, I feel like that was
I'll,
fun. I
I'll
liked it.
ask you this. I'll ask you this before we go, since I brought back up. What are your thoughts on the way people portray like lollies in anime as a community?
I don't know. I mean, I guess
Mm,
I think that's a complicated subject
mm,
because Japan's legal limit or legal age or whatever is so low that
mm.
like because I think I might be talking on my ass here, but I think it's somewhere in the teens of like not 18
You can say
obviously.
any number you want. I will have no idea
I think it's hang on. I got a Google box right next to me
because like
before I start talking on my ass.
it's I find it straight like it's there are times where it's like I get the character's supposed to look younger or whatever, but there's some instances where it's like this is a child essentially, and but they're like yeah, but she's like 1,000-year-old vampire, and like to me
Oh,
it's
good for Japan. I just found this. They
oh
just
you know what I
raised it.
saw they raised it and people were mad about that. Now that you met, I realized what you were reacting to probably.
Yeah, they raised it from Jesus Christ. They raised it from 13 to
Jesus, that
16.
is
That was
like,
really recently. That's
better.
in 2023. Holy crap. But
I
yeah,
yeah, the
that's
second you reacted like that, I was like, that's right. I saw people like posting on like Reddit where it's like, look at these neckbeards complaining that
yeah.
Japan is taking away. I forget how they phrase it. It's all
Oh,
like, oh,
that's
they're taking
disgusting.
away their bastion of hope.
Jesus Christ. That's so disgusting. Why? Just why? Like they're children. It's
Yeah.
that's so gross. But I think that it comes off through animes because that's the culture that those guys live in. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? If 13's your legal age of consent, then sure, drawing high schoolers as super sexualized just comes off as natural, right? Like if they've been able to legally consent to sex with an adult since they were 13 years old, then by high school they're way more than past that age. So
Mhm.
why not? I think that's why you see, and I
Makes
mean this
sense.
is
Makes
just
sense.
personal theory of mine. I think that's why you see so many high school themed anime stuff is because that's when their adulthood is
Mhm.
really like flourishing almost. I mean, it's like us in college, you know, it's like they have already been through so much of a, I don't know, adult experience as
At
to
least
be
one or
able to,
two school shootings by that point.
oh yeah, yeah, well here,
Mm.
yeah. Uh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. My wife's sister is still in high school and I just that scares the shit out of me. But
Yeah.
the the age thing, it's just so it's such a disconnect from us in the West where it's like, you know, we it's hard to understand how they portray things and their reality as compared to ours
Yeah.
because for them having a sexualized teenager is just, you know, a sexualized teenager in high school, I guess, even is just kind of a norm. It's like, oh well, whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, she's well past 13 and now it's 16, which is nice, but I just feel like it's a different culture, and I'm not going to say it's good. Me personally, I think it's gross, but I I'm not
I
going to
feel like the
judge other
internet
people's shit.
culture surrounding it is worse than
Oh yeah, for sure. All the
the
fucking
organic
neckbeards
culture of
from
it.
America who want to fuck 13-year-olds. That's disgusting. I'll take a
Because it's
stance on
like
that.
there are situations where it's like, and I'm exaggerating for the sake of argument here, but it's like this is a child in diapers, and like, yeah, but she's 10,000 years old.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
right.
all right, uh,
Uh,
but
yeah, I don't know. I feel like, especially when it comes to those things, I don't know. I guess live and let live. I really couldn't, as long as they're not acting on shit,
yeah, I,
whatever. I guess
I
I
was
don't know.
yeah, I was gonna say like I've maintained the stance on the show in my personal life. To be fair, where it's like I've always said like as long not related to this specifically, just in general, I'm like as long as what you're doing doesn't hurt affect anyone negatively, I don't really care what you're doing. Like I don't think it should be anyone's business because like
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, if that's a,
it's whatever.
I actually wrote a whole paper as my last. It's not like a thesis or anything. It was a bachelor's
Mhm.
degree, but it was like for one of my last classes. I had to write a paper, and we had to make like a, I think it was sexual health or something like that.
Mm.
And I wrote one on pedophilia and how it's like viewed here. And the thing is pedophiles have a really tough time in society because even uh like a pedophile trying to seek help for like therapy or something like that,
Yeah.
those are some of the rare instances where they might like turn you in or they might do something about it, and it makes
Mm.
them scared. It makes them very scared to talk about.
I see what
And in the paper, I think I made the argument that basically there needs to be more help for these people, because
you're saying.
if they're not able to talk to someone, if they're not able to like get this out, then they're gonna act on it. That's what builds up the
I
tension. That's
see.
what bottles them up, and then they release it on some poor kid who's gonna have their life traumatized and possibly
Mhm.
repeat the cycle. But it's so stigmatized in society that nobody's gonna admit to it. Nobody's gonna do anything like that.
Yeah.
But the papers and stuff that I cited basically show that it can technically be like a sexuality, if that makes sense. And it's not that it's
Mm.
recognizing it as a sexuality doesn't acknowledge that it's okay. That's not saying it's a good thing to happen, but I feel like
Mhm.
that's a definite step towards helping them, because if you can recognize that this is your sexual preference and this is something that you want to get help with, I think you should be able to, before it
Yeah.
turns into something where you're just in prison or something like that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like they're people too. And it sucks, but I feel like it should be a more talked about thing that people could be a little bit more open about, where they can
About
seek the
helping them
help.
solve the problem before
Yeah.
immediately criminalizing them, essentially,
I mean, it's just
before
like any
acting on
other
it.
mental
I
health
guess
issue,
it's
right? Like
yeah.
if you're bipolar or something like that, if you
Mhm.
don't get treatment for your schizophrenia, you're more
Yeah.
likely to be a danger to others and stuff.
You go on
That's
like Twitter and start blaming Jewish people for everything, and
yeah, exactly.
your music career go down the drain, and your wife leaves you, and just throwing out
Just
hypotheticals. I'm not saying
hypotheticals. Yeah, this has never happened in
yeah.
real life, of
And then
course.
you go back on Twitter and say, "Oh, I watched Pineapple Express. Turns out Jewish people are okay." Uh,
Wear a
yeah.
weird mask on Infowars. Um, but yeah, they
Hypothetically, of course.
hypothetically, if that ever
Yeah.
happened. But I think that they deserve help, and that's I guess my biggest stance is that like I
Mm.
think we should. I think all these posts that you see online all the time where it's like, "Oh, I got the help for a pedophile," and it'll be like a noose hanging from a tree or something. It's like, okay,
Mm.
you're perpetuating this. You're just going to make them want to hide in secret, bottle it up, become mentally unstable, and then release it on somebody. You're just
Yeah.
perpetuating the cycle. You're not helping anything if you're constantly saying that, oh, we need to hang all pedophiles. We need to do
Mhm.
something like that. It's like, no, we should help them. They're people, you know? It's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bleeding heart
I mean,
here, but
I make jokes about like guns and stuff like that. Like it's the only way I know how to deal with stuff.
yeah,
Like I
right.
joke about it, but at the end of the day, it's like that's like the go-to response of like all these shootings and stuff is either on one side it's we need to like rein in like guns and like uh put up like stronger red flag laws, make it more difficult to get guns, and the other side will say it's a mental health issue, but we don't do anything. Like I feel like there
Doing
obviously
anything.
steps have been taken to an extent for mental health issues, but not much in my mind for
Yeah,
like
not enough, clearly.
because it's so stigmatized. Like, oh, you have mental health problems, like pussy. It's
Yeah.
like
You go see a therapist, haha, you must be so fucked up.
yeah,
Like,
it,
it's
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 that.
so weird that we like treat people like shit for trying to improve themselves in a lot of these cases.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a human nature thing of like I want to belittle you for bettering yourself because I can't do it myself.
I
Maybe,
guess. Yeah.
like I'm jealous, like a deep latent jealousy or something. I don't know. It's got to be because I don't think anybody's got it figured out, right? Like
Mhm.
nobody's a fucking perfectly well-adjusted human being. Like it's just not possible. It's really fucking hard. Life sucks, and being able to actually talk about it helps so much. It's ridiculous. I know I went to therapy and it made a world of difference for me.
Mhm.
Uh, and it's just like I think anybody should be able to do it, and regardless of whatever your mental state is. If you feel like you need someone to talk to, there's no shame in it. Just do it.
Even
Like,
like people who aren't depressed, like it's useful to an extent of I just want to figure out where I'm at in life or whatever. Like what my like
yeah,
I don't want to
just
say existential crisis, but like a mild version of like just sorting your life out to an extent. You're not experiencing major problems or anything. It's just how can I improve myself? How can I change my situation?
yeah.
Like
And I feel
it.
like that's the role that a lot of people's parents just don't take. It's
Mhm.
more just like go figure it out type thing, and it's a lot of people missing that guidance, and it's like
There's
you
a
just
lot of
need somebody to
people
talk
who are
to.
parents that shouldn't be parents.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like
It's like, how am I
idiocracy.
supposed to talk to my kids about this? Have you ever talked to your kid about anything?
Well,
Well, I
no.
mean,
Fuck no. You
yeah,
see them? They're demons.
yeah. When was the last
Yeah,
time you
it's
sat down and had a conversation with your child? They don't want to listen to me. Is it because you tell them to sit down and shut the hell up? Like,
yeah. Is it because they don't get a say or opinion because you
yeah.
don't think they're people? Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Fuck. I I think children get a really bad rap here in the United States for sure because uh, they're the only population here that gets taxation without representation.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you can work
Yeah.
at age 14, 15. I mean, I think fucking
I
somewhere
started
just
working when I was 12.
yeah, me too. I think somewhere just
Not
legalize
on the
that.
books, obviously, but
Right. Yeah, I worked in my dad's welding shop.
yeah.
But they
I work
had
with a bunch of undocumented immigrants.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it is what it is when it comes to that.
Hmm.
But if you are working in the United States, let's say you're like a kid working in high school and you work at McDonald's or something like that,
Mhm.
you are paying taxes on your bills. Every time you get a check, you're paying the tax. You still have to pay everything when you go to a store and buy something. You're still paying the tax on
Mhm.
that, but you can't vote. That
Yeah.
is the definition of taxation without representation. And that's something that we're supposedly not doing here in the US, except for a giant part of the workforce, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like
Or if you
people
live in
overlook it.
Washington, D.C., to an extent, you don't have representation.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you can vote for like the president, local, leadership, perhaps, but not actual representatives.
Yeah.
Just don't get them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then here in Ohio, I mean, we have representatives that don't fucking represent anything. We just
Yeah.
voted to pass issue 1 and issue 2, which are the abortion
So-
amendment. And then the other one was for legalization of
mhm.
cannabis. And
Oh, is that yeah, they were like, we're not going to do this.
they're
That
like
was
fucking with the
okay.
bill. Apparently, they're
Yeah.
they're trying to like it passed from a voter initiative, and they passed
Hmm.
from I think it was insane. Like it was a lot of people voted yes, like bigger margins than I even thought it would be. And they're fucking with it. They're saying like, oh yeah, no, I think we're gonna do it so that counties can decide, and like, oh,
Yeah.
it depends on this thing and that. It's like, what the fuck? What's the point of voting if you guys just get the final say anyway? If
Hmm.
there's a voter initiated proposition and everyone voted yes on it, then isn't that democracy? Isn't that everyone who lives in this place who would be affected by this rule made a decision on how to do it? But then this small group of people get to change it however they feel fit? That's not democracy. That's a republic or whatever the hell, where you guys are just fucking with it. It's ridiculous. I don't know. It just pisses me off. Not to get onto you know, political stuff at the end, but yeah.
The people doing that are the same people that have wide stances in men's bathrooms, but they're not gay.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have any memory of that situation when that happened,
No, I don't
it's
remember. What
I
was that?
forget. I don't even remember what year that was. That might even before I was born. I have no memory. I don't know. I just know of the issue. It was a Republican representative or congressman, and he would go into bathrooms and solicit gay sex out of guys. He'd move his foot into like the stalls next to him and tap on their feet, letting him know he was interested. And then he did it to somebody that was not interested, and they ratted him out. And he's like, "I just have a wide stance. I'm a wide guy." and he's a very slim guy.
That's fucking hilarious. Man, the
Yeah.
days pre-Grinder.
Yeah.
Probably a lot easier now.
Oh man. Yeah. Maybe you're like a certain congressman from South Carolina who insists that he's not gay, even though he's in his late 60s and has never been in a public relationship.
And it's fine, man. Why are
Yeah.
come on,
No,
like
like I said,
gay
it's so
is
weird.
so it's
I
it's
don't get I don't get it.
it's such a non-issue, I feel like. Like, is anyone seriously still mad about gay people? Like, what
That's
the
how I feel
fuck?
about most issues, to be fair, like social related issues. Like, why do you care
Why do
what
you
people
even
do in their
care?
free time? It doesn't hurt
Yeah,
anyone. It literally doesn't even affect you financially. I don't know why it matters to you.
it does nothing to them. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know. People just got to be in other people's business, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's so weird. But yeah, I couldn't imagine living my life like that where I just give a shit about everyone else's stuff so much. Like I couldn't give a fuck less who you do or what you do. As long as you're leaving me alone, I don't care. Like
This needs to be my new stance on the show where I just really continuously go in on people that are into lollies and just really make it like really get super defensive against it to the point where people start questioning me.
Hi, welcome to the Dead Jester podcast. If you're a lolly, go fuck yourself. My
Yeah,
name
we don't
is
like that at all here. Here's some
yeah,
examples of my most hated ones. And every single episode, I have a segment of like dozens of them where I'm naming the characters by name from the specific episodes and like specific things they're doing, where it's clear I've done like hundreds of hours of research.
yeah.
It's like, and that's why they're terrible and
And
we
that's
don't
why
like
they're
them here.
so bad. And if you know any
Yeah.
more, send me the links to them so I
Yeah.
can review them.
Tell me websites I can avoid so I make sure I don't run into them.
Yeah, because I keep getting this annoying message on Pornhub. I mean, uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Does anyone else find it weird that all these ads keep popping up for this weird stuff?
God damn
That's
it.
my favorite. When you see that in actual like congressional hearings, and like, why do I keep getting ads for gay porn? It's like, buddy, let me explain how this works.
Oh my God. Has somebody actually said that? That's
I
hilarious.
don't know if it was gay porn, but it was like something equivalent to that, like that style thing where they're ratting themselves out. Why do I always get ads for this? It's like, well, because you're searching for that. That's how those ads work.
Yeah, I remember I saw one
It
of
might have been gay porn. I don't remember.
there was like this really disconnected guy who was in one of those hearings and they were doing something with Google and they had like
Mm,
the CEO of Google on the stand and he
mm,
asked him something about like so why does my phone have ads popping up in the front screen? That's like a violation of privacy, something something something.
yeah.
And he's like, "Well, what ads are popping up?" And he's like, "Well, it's the Apple's, something something store." And he's like, "Apple's a different company. I think
Yeah, I know
you're
exactly what you're talking
complaining to
about.
the
Yeah.
wrong person." Like, what the fuck?
That and like they'll complain to, like Facebook on like different stuff. It's like they have no idea like what's happening, like how it works
No,
or
they
anything.
don't know. They
And
don't
it's like,
know
why are these
shit.
people allowed to make decisions about this?
Wild. Yeah, I saw
That guy, I don't remember who it was, the one representative or something who said like, are like the tubes getting clogged up? Is that why the internet's slow? He's like, that's not how this works.
wow. There's
Uh,
too much data on the wire. I
yeah, too much
what?
information, so it gets clogged up. It's like, okay,
Uh,
okay.
Yeah, you should be running the country. You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
I keep jokingly running the idea past my girlfriend, like, I'm going to be old enough to run for Congress in the next election.
Oh, for 30?
Don't,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I'm like,
Good
it'd be
luck.
interesting. There's no way I'd win. I have no connections, like enough, like connections locally to do anything. Like it just, there's no chance, but it'd be entertaining.
It'd be fun to run. Can you just
The-
put your name on it and like not
You
do
can't, the
anything?
problem is if you want to get like on tickets and things like that and like get actual backing from parties, you have to have like the fundraising is a difficult thing. Like you have to raise certain amounts of money.
Lame.
And I forget how much it is, like for certain things, it's clear you have to have like actual like lobby investors
Yeah.
in order to raise it in a certain amount, unless you're like actually wealthy to begin with,
Back
which
to the
is
gatekeeping.
exactly like that's literally what it's like. You have to have money to get involved, which is like it's a public office. Why should you have to have money to be involved in this at all? If
Well,
anything,
because
this
they
should be
don't
the
want
most
just
accessible.
anybody getting elected.
Yeah. I know I think it's for like appointments to like um not cabinet positions, but like councils and stuff. I think it's like $750,000 you have to raise. And
Holy
it's like,
crap.
okay, clearly I'm going to have to take bribes if I want to raise enough money to be involved in that.
Well, yeah, and how
So it's
much
like,
does the position actually pay?
oh, like 147,000 a year, I think. Yeah,
That's pretty good, but still, that's not
it
enough
it
to
is, but then you look at like the wealth, like like the net worths of a lot of the people like in Congress, and it's all like they get in
millions.
before they're in Congress, it's like, oh, their net worth like 150,000. After 2 years in Congress, net worth 32 million. It's like, oh, they're
Weird how
taking
that
bribes and just insider trading left and right. Like, Jesus.
yeah, hashtag abolish lobbyists.
Yeah. But
Fucking
yeah, no,
ridiculous.
I've jokingly floated the idea of running for office because I think that'd be hilarious. And
I've
stranger
thought
things
about
have
writing my
happened,
own name.
especially on like the local level. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I could convince people to vote for me. I just come in and be like, hey, do you hate what's going on? Yes. Well, let me tell you, I'm just gonna not ruin everything. I'm gonna make no rash decisions. I'm just gonna consolidate it and cut spending in general.
I promise you I'm gonna try and do my absolute best to do nothing.
Yes.
Absolutely nothing.
Uh,
But I won't annoy you.
I feel like, especially like in my local county, I feel very confident that I could win because it's like taxes are insane. I'm like, I can lower
Where do you
taxes.
live? If you don't mind me
I live in
asking.
central Pennsylvania. I can,
Oh, that's right. You said Pennsylvania. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it's insane here, and it's literally because they just throw money around with reckless abandon. Oh, that school that we built like 2 years ago, you want to replace the entire HVAC system? Let's do it. How? Oh, we're putting up the Christmas tree. We need $50,000 for the lights. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, oh, just all the money. Just give us all the money. It doesn't make sense how we're spending it. Like that, it could possibly cost this much. It's like, okay, I feel like you're just literally stealing money from people at this point, but whatever.
Yeah. Don't pay the teachers more. Get better lights.
Yeah. So I was like, what if I ran and won? Like, how funny would that be? How terrifying would that be?
Hey, listen to your representative on your podcast. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool though to actually like know your representative.
hmm It,
But
yeah, I don't know. We'll have
yeah.
to see. I, on one hand, I'm like, it'd be neat to do it, but on the other hand, it's like, I really don't feel like dealing with the scrutiny of those positions.
Oh god,
It's
and
like,
the
not that I
fucking
do anything crazy or stupid, but it's like, I just make jokes that people are going to get offended by. It's like, oh, look what he
yeah.
said. Kick him out.
5 years ago, especially when you run a podcast, because they'll just comb through every fucking thing
I
you've
mean, I
ever
have
said.
content online from 2007. They're gonna be like, look at this. He called someone a retard. It's like,
And, yeah, while he
I
was in
was
high school.
I was 12 at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, fuck, dude, you bring everything back. Come on.
yeah.
No, there was. It's funny you talk about schools because there's a really funny story right next to me. There's a place called Marion, Ohio, and
hmm
they had to rebuild a school called River Valley because the old school was giving kids cancer. It was built
Jesus.
on a military waste. What is it? It's like biohazard and waste
hmm
disposal. It was the largest one in World War II,
Oh,
and
jeez.
like there's accounts of people basically just throwing like toxic waste and shit into the ditches
hmm
and just burning it. But apparently a lot of the people who were playing on, like, I think it was like the football team or something, got cancer, like
Oh
leukemia, and
God.
died at like earlier, like mid 20s or something,
Jeez.
because they were running around in a field that had a shit ton of toxic waste in it in like the 80s and 90s. So they had to rebuild the entire school uh down the road, and they closed this off, so there's
I,
this giant
it'd
abandoned
been way
school
funnier if
building.
they just they demolish it and rebuild it on the same spot, thinking that would fix the problem.
Yeah, right. Well, no, they even to this day, they're still doing tests on it. They have like wells
Mhm.
and stuff that they check for the toxicity level of the groundwater or whatever that's near
Yeah.
it. And to this day, they still say that the cancer is not related. It's just
hmm
they determined that no one's going to get any money out of this, but we're still going to spend millions of dollars on a new school and an initiative to clean up the site and everything.
Yeah.
But no, you didn't get cancer from it. That's fine.
Mhm.
It's just like, what the
We had
fuck?
something similar. It wasn't at my school, but it was like 300 yards away, rough, maybe a little bit further than that. But it was this old building which they tore down. Where at the time, I mean, this is probably 60 years ago now. They did like painting. They painted with I forget the which. chemical it was, but it's the stuff that will like glow in the dark. And so like they would hand paint like clocks and watches and things like that. And so they'd be taking the ink, like
Mm,
licking it on their tongue to keep it wet and then painting. And my uncle worked there and
really?
they would offer to like fly him out to I think Chicago all the time to get like tested and stuff like that. And while I was in high school, they tore the building down. It had been closed for years, but they tore the building down, removed all the rubble, and they dug up like all of the dirt to like clear it out because like all the chemicals were just dumped in the ground.
Yeah, I think they made a movie about those people, didn't they? Like the Atomic Girls or something like that.
Maybe I'm not. That does sound familiar, actually.
I think it, but I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about because the I can't remember what they were using as the paint, but
like
that's like the
radium or
glow in the
something.
dark radium, yeah. And they would lick
Yeah.
the tip because it made it a finer point, and
Hmm.
every single one of them had their jaws fall off. It's fucking crazy,
Yeah,
man.
my uncle did not have that, but yeah, they like I said, they'd be like, oh, just preemptive testing. You want to fly on out
Wild.
here? He's like, nah, I'm fine.
That's
And
fucking
I mean,
wild.
he's in his 80s, still fine. I feel like if something was gonna happen, it would have happened by now, probably.
Yeah, yeah, that's
But
true. I mean, shit, he got lucky then.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
reading
Instead,
about
he got
that.
his helicopter shot down.
Jesus. Oh my god.
uh,
I guess that's not
but
very lucky then. But the 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 girls, I was reading about that the other day because I was on a random Reddit thread. So it's funny you bring that up. But
that's how it goes. Yeah.
the money that they finally settled for afterward went to pay for the
Mm,
funeral costs of the women. Like it
not
didn't even.
surprising.
It's not like their family got any sort of retribution or anything. It just paid for
Yeah.
their funeral costs. That's it. Like, it's fucking
That's the
crazy.
thing. They just go to court and wait until everyone's dead and be like, fine, fine, we'll cover the funeral costs. It's like,
Yeah.
what about the families? They weren't the ones affected by it.
Yeah,
Why
they
would they
weren't
get the
there.
money?
They're
Yeah.
not affected by their loved one having their jaw fall off and die at 30. What the fuck do you mean?
Yeah.
But if you need a job, we can give them a job.
Yeah. We have this great radium ingestion testing plant down the road. It's like,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, we're actually using a different kind of radionite on the watches, and you
yeah.
don't have to
This
lick
one's
the tip.
100% more effective. You will
Yeah.
glow in the dark. Oh, okay.
Oh my god, that's so sad. Welcome
I
to
mean, they
America.
still, not to the accent, but they still do stuff like that. I mean, I don't know
Oh,
if
I know.
you can probably just go online and find it, but like it's just they've gotten through like animal testing, and so now it's like, oh, we're going to test this on people. Come in, we'll pay you $100. You sign the waiver, and we'll report back to you. You report back to us in a week or two with any potential side effects,
Yeah,
and it's literally what they do.
yeah,
And
but I think
college
those ones
kids do that
are
all the time. Make
those
a
ones
couple
are a
extra bucks.
little bit more like I feel like tested. Don't they test them on animals and shit before they
Yeah,
ever
that's
go
what I'm
to
saying.
human
Yeah, they
trials?
like I said, that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. They wait until after the animals have been brutally tortured and
Oh well, that's
and like, all
nice.
right, finally we can move on to people.
Yeah, great. Now we can finally torture some people up in here. It's about time. I've been licking
It's
my
like,
chops, looking
what
at all
side
this
effects did you have?
mushroom.
Oh, I just bleed out my eyes. My everything hurts. I lost, my vision, smell, taste. I can't really feel anything at this point.
Shit, but you
And
lost
I just feel
20
like I'm
pounds.
vibrating all the time. That's
You
good.
must be
Did you
working.
do you experience the positive effects of medicine? Yeah, my nails look a little bit more white now, so that's good.
Well, it looks like it's a successful dietary supplement.
Perfect. We'll just tell them about these side effects and they'll be good.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. It's like anything can be labeled a supplement. That's
Yeah.
the scary thing. We
Yeah.
live in a basically giant experimentation with all these weird holistic crap that you can buy on the shelves anymore.
I mean, we're one of the rare countries where you can market not fully tested medicine on national television.
Oh yeah. How else are they
Yeah,
gonna buy it? You
I
gotta
don't know.
tell your doctor about it first, but
That's
chain of
that's what
command.
that's what you want to do is go to your doctor and tell them what you think you should be taking.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Why do they always say, tell your doctor to try this thing today? Like, he's my
Tell the
doctor.
medical professional that you go to for advice what they should be doing.
Yeah. Don't listen to them.
Trust
They're
us.
trying to kill
We're in it
you.
for the money.
Yeah. Yeah. We have we have your best wallets in mind. I mean, safety in mind. Totally.
Side effects will include death.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, you're gonna
But your
die, but
teeth
you're
are
gonna
gonna look
look great.
great.
You're gonna leave behind the
Um,
prettiest fucking corpse.
yeah. It's like, oh my god, it's so sad. Dead at 22, but god damn that smile.
Jesus. Look at those
Yeah.
abs.
That whitening toothpaste does the trick.
Yeah.
It sucks that it's filled with mercury.
Yeah. But it
Yeah,
just
why do
really
they
gets
tell
the
you to
plaque off.
ingest it and swallow it? That seems weird. Yeah.
Toothpaste says you
That
will die.
I mean, that's not something like I had to experience with. Like that was a thing back in the day where you'd see people like handling mercury and like, oh,
Yeah,
look at it. Like you can pour it back and forth in your hands. It's like,
it's
and looking
amazing.
back at it, it's like, oh, watch these people actively poisoning themselves.
There's a ancient Chinese emperor who got buried with a river of mercury because they thought it was the secret to immortal life.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's crazy some of the shit people do.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's gonna be like in 10 years from now, where people with like all the vapes and stuff, that could be the case.
oh
It's
yeah.
like, oh, watch them inhale. Like I know, like talking to my sister about that, or she'll make fun of like people smoking cigarettes. I'm like, you're inhaling raw chemicals. Like you're just heating them up first. Like it's the same thing, but it's just more
Well,
direct.
no, it's I used to actually vape.
Okay, you'll
I
know more.
don't anymore.
I'm
But
just shit talking her. But
no, 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 no.
yeah,
I'm with you on it. I mean, I think it's dumb that I ever did it. But what I was gonna say is they use they'll say it's like VGPG is what they mix it with. So it's
mm,
vegetable glycine and propanol something. I can't remember what it's called, but they are FDA approved safe for human
mm,
consumption. But the way that they
mm,
did it was they're FDA approved consumption safe for eating, not for
mm.
inhaling. But they still put it in there because they're like, "Oh, it's FDA safe. It's fine." They said it won't hurt anybody. But it's like, well, no. It's not how it's supposed to be. What the fuck?
That's sort of like with the THC like O products and stuff, right? Where
Delta
it's
9.
legal because it's not like pure THC, but the second you burn it, it changes to regular THC or something. I forget
Yeah.
exactly how science works, but like something like that, where it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
legal, and then you burn it, and then it's the other product, but you've already purchased it illegally, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird time we live in where people won't legalize pot, but they will like let you sell a pen at a gas station that's full of chemicals that basically do
Yeah,
the same thing. It's like, come
it's.
on.
I mean, I maintained it. Like again, like I don't care what people do, but like it's weird to me. It's like alcohol, totally fine. Weed, no.
Yeah, no.
It's all because they haven't found a way to completely capitalize on like corner the market and figure out how to make it as much money from it as possible while preventing other people from having access to it.
That's why I like I've been a medical I've had medical card for 2 years
Mhm.
now, so I've been smoking weed like forever. I mean, I've been smoking longer than that, but uh
For
the
2 years exactly, right when you got your medical
yep,
card was your
right when I
first
got my medical
experience.
card, this was the first time I ever smoked. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Um but
You're like, "Whew,
the
no thanks. I prefer to be on the up and up, straight and narrow."
ooh, legal pot. But the that's why I was really excited about this bill because Ohio actually put into it that you can grow your own, which
Mm.
is sweet because
Oh,
I
that's why
don't.
they're upset about it.
Yeah, that's why they're pissed and trying to fuck with it is because they can't make a shit ton of money if people are growing
Yeah.
their own. Um, but that's why I thought it was so cool is because like I don't like manufactured stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I try and we've been talking about like maybe making a garden here even or something because like you just never know what the fuck people put in stuff. And
Yeah.
from the things I saw, like the dispensary weed that they sell, they put pesticides on it that have again they've been
Mm.
proven FDA safe for human consumption, but it's pesticides that are safe for human consumption on food, not on
Mm.
inhalants. So when you're inhaling this, we don't know what happens, you know? And it's just like,
Yeah.
well, what the fuck? It's crazy, man. It's nuts.
There like I said, I've very little experience at all. The only experience I really have is edibles that a friend had sent me, and they were like, whatever. And then I had ordered these 100 milligram Delta 8 gummy bears, and I was
Oh
told like,
god.
oh, don't eat the whole thing. I was like, cool, got it,
Yeah.
won't do it. I ate like a foot of one. I had like nothing, no reaction. I was like, okay, I'll eat a tiny bit more. Still like no reaction. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna eat like half of it. And I took a bite and it was way more than half. I was like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. And like I some time passed. I have no idea how long. And I just found myself sitting here like hyperventilating on my computer watching what is the prank show? I don't even remember what it's called. Um
Like Impractical Jokers?
Impractical Jokers, yeah, thank you.
Ah.
And I'm just like hyperventilating at it. It's like this is a show like I've seen before, and I never really laugh at it at all. And after I take this edible, I'm just like literally struggling to breathe. And I finally like come to my senses and I slap the space bar and I pause it. I'm just like, I need to like calm the fuck down. And I'm like, how do I do this? I'm like sweating profusely. And I'm like, everything is like vibrating. I'm like, the room is spinning. I'm like, I know what I'll
Jesus
do to
Christ.
calm down. I'll go get in the shower, which is the stupidest idea. I have like no balance. I'm all over the place. So I get in there. I'm taking a cold shower. Everything is spinning. I'm like trapped in the shower because I can't find my way out. And eventually I get out. Again, I have no idea how much time has passed at this point. And I go and I like lay down in bed and I'm just drinking as much water as I can, which may have been next to nothing. I have no idea what I'm doing.
There's no
And
concept of time when you're that high.
yeah, I sleep for some amount of time, and then my girlfriend gets home, and I wake up, and I'm like, "Hey, not feeling well. I'm gonna go lay down for a bit." And that's what I did. I slept. I just slept it off.
There's
I was
a
like, "That was horrible."
there's a really common joke about edibles online that you'll see where it's like edibles will not work until you talk shit about them. That's the
Mm.
only time that they work is when you say, "Man, I don't feel anything." That's when you start to get hit by the edibles.
Like I didn't do the thing that some people do apparently, where it's like, "Oh, this doesn't work. I'll have more right away." That's not what I did. I literally did it like individual settings. Like one day it's like tiny little bit, a couple days later another tiny little bite.
Really? And you still
Yeah,
had that? Wow,
it was
that's
weird. Like
crazy.
I don't like I said, I had literally zero reaction the first two times. I was like, that's weird. So that's why I took the bigger piece of it, and then I was like, oh, this is absolutely horrible. Shouldn't have jumped right into the 100 milligram ones, probably, but
Yeah, I I'm a
having
big,
zero experience going into it.
not that I've ever done it before, but I'm a really big LSD enthusiast.
Mm,
And that's one of those things. You take some
yeah.
acid, and it takes like an hour or so to kick in. And I don't know
Okay.
how many times I've been like, "Oh yeah, this is fucking nothing, whatever. Maybe this is bad acid, something." And then you go sit down, watch a show, and then all of a sudden everything starts fucking moving around. It's like, whoa, okay, I guess this is all right. That one's the worst though, because acids hitting you is like a brick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, now everything's wrong and the world's not looking right.
That's like I said, like looking back at it, like I know like the general like brushstrokes of my experience, but like I couldn't tell you like specifics of anything. Like I couldn't tell you how long it took to like feel it. Like I remember like sitting here in my chair and feeling like the chair was vibrating,
Yeah,
like stuff like that. But I couldn't tell you how long it was, like how long I was in the shower for, trying to like figure out how to get out of it.
that's fucking wild.
Which in hindsight is hilarious, being stuck in my
Yeah.
shower.
Well, and like those are the dangers of marijuana. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, people, why is this illegal? It's just a
Yeah.
fucking you
Well,
might
that's what
have
I'm
to
saying. Like, it's weird to me
don't
that that's
drive,
illegal.
but
Like, but like alcohol is perfectly legal.
hmm.
I'm like, either do like legalize all of them or none of them. Like it. I like
Oh, I'm on
my
a
girlfriend's. Okay.
interestingly, there's a country. I want to say it's Peru, and I'm probably super fucking wrong. But there's
Mm,
a country that legalized all like drugs, basically. Like it's not illegal to use drugs.
yeah.
It's illegal to have them in your possession, and it's illegal to sell. Like
Mm,
they like opened up the penalty, but all the money that came from it goes into rehabilitation services,
mm,
and they made mental health stuff way more accessible, and their drug usage went way down because
mm,
they did that. They like toughened up on the drug smuggling, and they lessened on people who were addicted. So people who are addicted to heroin and stuff won't get, like here in the US where it's like, oh yeah, technically we have like a needle exchange, or we'll have like a detox place,
yeah.
but there's always a cop there, and there's always like this feeling of like, are they gonna know who I am now and follow
Mm,
me, or you know what I mean, like.
yeah.
And if you decriminalize it to the point where anybody is able to get help with their addiction, but you
Mm,
criminalize like the distribution, you can really give it a 1-2 punch, and I think help with the like opioid crisis we have going on here. But it's
yeah.
it's it's a really complex issue that will make people be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because if you say something like, yeah, I think we should legalize heroin to make heroin addiction go down, it's like, what?
Mhm.
That makes no fucking sense. But like, no, it does. Like, there's countries that have actually done this and it has been proven to work. But, you know, big pharma is never going to let shit like that happen because they like getting people hooked on pills.
Mhm.
So,
It's it's just weird to me because, like I said, my girlfriend's dad was like that, where he totally fine with alcohol, but he would treat it like marijuana, like it was the worst possible thing in the world. It's like
oh
you
God.
get on that, you use it, and it's just you're a different person. Like you're just it's so much more dangerous. Like not really. Like
It's a fucking plant, dude. Chill.
like
I'm not smoking crack.
it's like how many drunk driving accidents are there every year that kill people? Compare that to
Seriously.
how many accidents with people like high on pot. It's like I don't think you're gonna like the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, because stoners don't normally drive. And
It's
don't drive on pot, people. Don't do it.
I will say I think the numbers are skewed in the sense of like how many people like especially because it's not legal everywhere, or at least even then, like 10 years ago. It's like if it's illegal, it's the odds of people using it are smaller, so you're gonna have a smaller sample size. But then also like obviously you don't want to go out in public and risk getting caught high, I guess, either. But
That's true.
even
Well,
still.
the biggest issue, and like I know here when they were doing all that campaigning, this was one of the biggest things that got brought up, is you can't tell when someone's high. Like you
Mm,
can't tell when, I mean, obviously you can tell from like seeing people talking to people or if you knew they smoked, but if you get
yeah.
pulled over by a cop, they don't have a breathalyzer for pot. You know what I mean? Like they can't, the
Mhm.
only thing they can do is like a mouth swab, and that's even the next 2 days. So like if you smoked the day before, you could fail it and be driving sober. So
Yeah.
like that's the biggest issue with it. So it's like I don't know if they even would have a statistic on how many people drive
Mm,
high,
I
because how
see.
are you going to prove it? There's just no
Yeah.
way. Until they can come up with something like that, which I'm a huge advocate for. I really wish they had like a breathalyzer for marijuana, basically, because it's unsafe. Like you shouldn't drive around high. That's
Mhm.
just very, very dangerous. But you also shouldn't be not allowed to smoke marijuana just because they don't have a good way of proving that you're not high. You know what I mean? Like it's just a weird situation, and you can't tell me with today's technology they can't come up with something that would be able to
Yeah.
do it. But I don't know. Priorities probably in dick pills
The
and
priority
balding.
is money. Once they
Yeah.
figure out how to corner the market, it'll be legal everywhere.
Oh yeah, for
Like, you
sure.
know what? It turns out we're fine with it.
Because we
Anyway, you can
found out a
come
way
buy
to
it
make it
from
into
us
a
now.
pill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Go
Anyway,
USA.
we could probably wrap here since I initially wrapped up like an hour
An
ago.
hour ago.
Yeah. Uh,
I know. I was thinking about that. Then I looked up and I'm like, holy shit, it's already been
yeah.
another hour.
Yeah. Anyway, where can people go to check out your stuff?
Oh yeah, I do things. You can see we are at Dungeon Shinobi on X, Twitter, whatever. Um
It's Twitter. We don't call it X, except
it's
X videos.
Twitter, yeah. So
Can't emphasize it
edit
enough.
that
It
out.
is X videos, but Twitter and everything
It's
else.
we post a lot of X videos.
Yeah.
Um, but that's if you want to like tweet at us. We have a Discord that we're pretty active on, and then obviously you can go on to any streaming service or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, to listen to our podcast, Dungeons and Shinobi. It's a
Awesome.
anime D&D, so if you're into that kind of thing, come check us out.
Awesome. Yeah. And you can go check out deadjustproductions.live. Got links to all of our stuff on there. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Had a really good time chatting.
Yeah, me too. That was
Obviously,
fun.
2 hours in.
Yeah, right.
But
I'm shooting to be the longest episode. That's my goal.
no chance. Yeah, we've done like a 4 hour episode before. I forget
Damn
what the longest one is. It's
it.
there have been times where like this might be the longest one. And I go back, I'm like, oh, never mind. Apparently that day I had way too much free time.
Well, it was a pleasure, man. That was
Awesome.
really fun. Thank you so much for
Yes, yeah.
having me.
Thank you so much, man. And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.